Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Olympus League. Tonight, we're going to have Post-Sinclarity taking on, of course, GCS 2008 Nissan Altima. And I'm going to try to say that whole name every single time. I'm your host for the evening, Korak, joined today by, hopefully, my new friend, Aussie. Hello.
Hi, everyone. Welcome in. We got an exciting match here for you. Now, this is according to Brendan, all right? So if this is wrong, blame Brendan. Don't shoot the messenger. This matchup apparently does matter. I thought going into the day that it didn't matter, but apparently I don't know the rules, which means L colorcaster knowledge. Shame on me for not knowing the rules, I guess, but I'm here for an exciting match.
Y'all missed a 10, 15-minute explanation of basically him telling me it didn't matter, only for him to figure out 30, 45 seconds later. It's like, oh, it does matter. Cool. Everything I told you was completely wrong. Forget that. And done. Easy for me. But starting this off, it looks like we're going to have PSC, who I'm going to try to at least go with that, or just call him Sen. And then, of course, GCS 2008 Nissan Altima is going to be red side, PCS on blue side so far here for this. And if you're looking down below, below our big dumb heads, you can see the names of every single players, which I will be happy to butcher throughout the course of this entire best of 3 Fearless series. But anything you want to let us know? Anyone we're going to try to keep our eyes on, maybe that you've heard some word of? Maybe they have a real good play to dive into, or a powerful champion to watch out for, Aussie?
Well, something I like to do here on Olympus is mentioning our content writer Resilient here. So we'll go off some things there. He's really kind of embellishing Fire Mana from Post-Land Clarity as like being a really big highlight for Sin overall throughout the season. So for me, I'm looking in the mid lane. I have also, I've seen Hamea play in the past. Maybe not the split, but in general in the past, and he has also been a very big star when it comes to being a great mid laner. So I'm expecting the mid lane matchup today to be quite impactful on the Rift. I think also that Caxi has had quite a bit of impact themselves this split. So excited to see what will happen, especially around the mid lane, but anything's possible. These teams are close in terms of skill, but I think in reality, we're looking at mid lane.
Keeping an eye out on mid lane. And of course, there's a couple other things I think we need to watch out for just because of the way the game and the meta is set up sort of right now. We always have to keep an eye out for top lane. Someone particular to watch out for that I always try to mention is Sion is not broken, but pretty freaking close to it. Because even if at this point Sion goes like 0 and 10, he's still a Sion. He's still going to destroy your tower. He's still going to ult you all the way from downtown. And then another one to watch out for is in bot lane. We've got Caitlyn. While there are other more powerful bot laners to watch out for, she in herself is very, very game warping. She's very, very powerful, and a lot of times the best solution to deal with her is to just send the entire kitchen sink and everything in the kitchen at her in order to take her down and to keep her shut down. But she does have a couple of contenders. We do have Yanara, which is going to be someone to watch out for. Yanara is still just as strong as she was right around the times of LTA Grand Finals. The biggest thing is just she has a bit of a nerf to the movement speed and a couple of other things in that category, but I think those are going to be people have to watch out for one way or another, regardless of the skill of the players, Aussie.
Yeah, I think the Sion shout out is W ball knowledge there from Korak. Round of applause. Sion is just so brutal to play against, and it's just so consistently strong. Because as you mentioned, even if the Sion goes 0-10, still going to have the impact. That's majority of tanks, right? They are meant to be kind of these like weak side warriors where they can die, a few times and be useful. But Sion, because he is able to get so much gold for free through a passive in his kit of his W passive, like getting up to like 1500 free HP off of just putting 1 point in his W is insane. That's a great shout.
Well, and I think a good measure to watch out for is, if you played League for any point of time, you've kind of run into Sylas at any given point, and Sylas is just sort of this constant pest, this constant creature to deal with. And I think we have an upgraded Sylas, which is Cassante in the top lane, who does everything that Sylas does in a lot of different ways other than stealing ultimates, but is even scarier. And even Cassante into Sion is still a tough matchup for Cassante, and that I think that's a good measure, because you take this sort of known entity, this known quantity, someone that's hard to deal with, and then you have someone who has no problem dealing with it. Your best options for someone against Sion, of course, is going to be someone who's good at sort of these in and out, these skirmishes. Renekton is still very powerful, even though he's not played a crazy amount. He's very good at not losing lanes and then capitalizing on when he needs to go forward, but so is someone like Mbessa. Cassante's not too bad at it either, and if you're able to dodge the Qs in the top for the Sion, that is something to watch out for. But we won't even know if we're going to get a Sion in this one. I would be surprised to see it banned out. I wouldn't be surprised to see, of course, the Caitlyn banned out. Those are going to be very, very powerful. But, this is probably going to dive down at this point. We're in what I believe week number 7, Aussie. I think my colleague was telling me that earlier. This is week number 7. So at this point, these teams should have done their research, should have looked at anything like that. So we're going to get a little bit more targeted bans into this one, especially because we found out the game actually does count a bit more than Aussie was originally predicting. Now we're moving into our first little bit of draft.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what we have cooked up here. I'm also hoping if there is a side swap coming through later in the series that we see the bans change. Something that, you know, Gebetto and I have talked about on cast previously throughout the weeks is we really would like to see teams kind of adapting to the sides in terms, you know, kind of playing around with Fearless, like, you know, utilizing blue side to maybe take away things from your opponent so you can afford better bans on the blue side. That's what makes blue side so strong, is you get prio picks, but you also get to take away so many great champs away from the enemy teams that you get to end up saving a lot of bans here. But PCS opting for the Silas Tristana. Silas definitely in a great spot. The Vladimir is definitely a targeted ban away. And as an update here on the roster, it will be Canela subbing in for Firemana today, which for a matchup that matters in terms of seeding. It's not like Post-Sin Clarity will be out of the playoffs if they lose this match, but in terms of a pretty important seeding matchup, losing your star mid laner, which we were just talking about actually, can be quite annoying. But here's the Emerald tried and true Instalock B1 Jinx.
Jinx is so powerful in this area, but something to note too is so is Amumu. Amumu isn't great once you get past, I want to say, about Diamond 2, Diamond 3. He can be sort of okay, but the Emerald sort of Diamond 4 cap, which is about where we're at, he can still shine in a lot of different ways. But like you said, picking up the Jinx, the immediate response is going to be the Kaisa and the Nocturne. So we already have a little bit of a ball delivery system set up, the classic version there with Nocturne. Always love to see Nocturne. That's kind of why I like this league, right? Because we see a bit more of that going forward, and immediately we're going to hear that and take that into an Orianna denying that ball delivery system from GCS Nissan 2008 Nissan Altima.
I can never with this name. It is just too perfect. Will be the Sejuani pickup here for PCS. So interesting early lock-in on Sedge. Now, it is great because there can be no Trundle because they did give away the Nocturne very early. The Syndra will be a takeaway from Canela as well. Quite a big Syndra player, so, and does pair pretty well into the Orianna and has some decent synergy with the Nocturne. Obviously, if Nocturne goes a little bit too far, it's hard for the Syndra to kind of, you know, get any value with it. But in terms of like general mid game, with the Syndra Unleash power, and then you have the Paranoia, you know, coming out of the Nocturne, should be more than enough damage to blow up any single target that they want. And if need be, Kaisa, if a Scatter of the Weak hits, you know, Kaisa can go clean up. You know, being able to use the Killer Instinct to just go in whenever she wants is fantastic. It's going to be the Braum ban away here, so it is meaning, you know, on PCS's side, definitely looking for that engage support angle for sure with the Sejuani, but it will be the Thresh pickup here for GCS, which is an interesting look with Kaisa.
Well, and I think Thresh, despite his kit being very utilitarian and having a lot of uses for it for sure, he's not as strong as sort of the rest, just kind of overall. At this point in the game, you know, his contenders, his opponents have been buffed, and so like it doesn't have the same amount of pressure. You know, even though he can do a lot of work, I do like the response here. We're going to go into Karma. I really like Karma. Karma does a lot of work. Even though a lot of people say that she's a bit weaker, she still shows up very consistently. But it's going to be, of course, the Kaisa and the Thresh in bot lane, the Jinx and the Karma. Nice pairing on that end. And our last couple of picks are going to be the Mbessa and, of course, the Volibear. So this is going to be a Volibear top lane. I'm not sure how he's supposed to do into Mbessa. I haven't seen this matchup, I don't think ever actually at all, just sort of in general, because Volibear is kind of fallen by the wayside in a lot of ways. But I am very happy that this is not a Volibear jungle, who I have a very particular gripe against.
Yeah, I'm sure there's quite a few particular gripes against the Volibear in the jungle, but in terms of matchup on the top side, should be actually able to fare quite well into the Mbessa. Volibear pretty well known for being kind of that early game bully, which Mbessa's worst part of the game is that early game needing the you know, levels to get her cooldowns a little bit lower, some of the ability haste coming through as well. But the interesting thing here from Post-Sin is because Thresh was opted here onto 4, it gives them Karma, and Karma is kind of insane sometimes in terms of the amount of shielding she can put out. A Mantra E just goes absolutely nuts, kind of forces someone into building Serpent's Fang, and this game, GCS don't have the best Serpent's Fang builders in the world, especially dealing with an AoE shield situation. Nocturne would probably be the one to build it, but more single target. But here we go, Korak. We're loading in.
This indeed is going to be where the rubber meets the road, Aussie, as game number 1 kicks off on Olympus League. I don't suspect anything really sneaky is going to happen. We don't have a Braum, we don't have a Blitzcrank or a Nautilus, so everybody's just going to be looking to get those wards down. For the most part, invades have gone pretty much down by the wayside in a lot of different directions, but something I wanted to note it in draft is I really like what PCS has decided to grab here and taking the Sejuani first game. The first game is very much so like in boxing. It's your non-dominant hand. It's your range finder. It's your jab. You're trying to figure out and test the enemy, and Sejuani is a good way to do that. A little bit of harassment. Should get the ward down. Looks like it's going to go on the red side, and it looks like we're going to do the exact opposite on the other end. Both wards did make it down, which are going to be important to figure out where the downtime is going to be, where the gank's going to come from, but it's not as important for Nocturne, at least in the thing, because Nocturne's ganks aren't super great until, of course, he gets that Paranoia. Sejuani's ganks aren't the best. Someone like Wukong or Zen are significantly better, but at this point, Sejuani should have the priority when it comes to a little bit of this ganking.
Will be the Ignite coming out for Chewy here on the Thresh, and will be the Exhaust coming out for Ahop, which I'm a big fan of this game. A lot of people would probably autopilot into the heal, as Kai'Sa's actually taking quite a bit of damage from the poke, Mantra Q, and the Rocket Splash doing quite a bit of damage to Majin. But overall, Ahop, I think, selecting the right rune here, because realistically, the only thing that should be able to get on Jinx consistently is that Aatrox, and having the Exhaust, or not the Aatrox, excuse me, Nocturne. Wow, what a misstep, Majin. It's okay.
But we are continuing the harassment, Ozzy, as it looks like Kai'Sa's really just been pushed underneath her tower. And this is really the power of not only just Jinx, and Jinx is still sort of overall really powerful, especially in the early game, but also of Karma. And if you're going to want to know how the bot lane's going to go, the biggest thing you need to look at the support is the supports. Thresh has a lot of utility, and for the longest time, he was very, very powerful. But right now, people like Karma are just a little bit more, and it really can't offset that. The mid lane is kicking off, as we've got a lot of poking on each end, but bot lane I think is going to really, really struggle until Thresh lands a particularly good death sentence. The thing is like with him being just a little bit off meta, you have to really lean into that off meta in order for it to make sense, in order for it to work. And at least in the laning phase, he's going to struggle to do that. I got to imagine it's going to change during the team fight phase. He should do a little bit, but you cannot count the other one. Ooh, and Bessa getting really close to getting taken down, only about 200 HP, but you got to keep in mind, this isn't Mbessa. They're happy to skirmish. They're happy to have sort of these ins and outs. The thing they're probably not happy about, though, is the CS. It's about 14 to 21. Volibear thinking about it, but the intrusive thoughts do not win, Aussie.
Kenny playing around the E so well from Cody, so really well played coming out of Kenny, avoiding any kind of death potential. But wave state here in bot lane is pretty bad here for the Kai'Sa. It is kind of in a not great spot, but should stave off at least a little bit of the poke as the wave crashes into the tower.
This is exactly what I was talking about. Sejuani does have pressure to grab this first little bit of gank, but I think pinning down Volibear is going to be easier said than done. However, we do try and look for the shot. We're going to flash forward and grab the first blood, starting off strong. That's going to be the first point in the bucket, of course, for PSC.
Kenny able to just flash forward and pick up the kill thanks to Caxi. So great play coming out of both players here. On the top side of the map for Posen, as Cody does teleport back, but Cody greeted Flash for so long. Will have it available, but still giving over first blood to the Mbessa, who should struggle into you early on. Is really not ideal, is able to pick up the pickaxe on the first back and kind of get the snowball rolling for her.
Absolutely. And, you know, sort of one of the things, though, too, is Mbessa doesn't want to all in sort of like Camille, at least not initially. They don't want to all in, especially into Volibear. Volibear is very happy to continue to play Bear Simulator. I thought we were going to have something there. Continue to play Bear Simulator and just sort of run at you, mark you, and then just get a lot of health regen. And what's nice about, you know, champions like Mbessa is they can sort of avoid that. They can sort of bait out the mark and then go back in. They can do a little bit of damage, bait it out, and go back in. And that's really the best thing going for Mbessa, and her grabbing that early kill, getting that 300 gold bonus, will help her do that and help accelerate her lane in a lot of ways. And we're already seeing that as Volibear's already about half HP.
Yeah, and really embellishing the the trade pattern from Volibear needing to basically double W is something Mbessa can avoid really easily just due to her mobility, because Volibear will trade exactly like this. Very quick short burst, and then we'll want to follow it up to try and get the heal off in like a more extended trade. But Mbessa is so great at denying extended trades, as we see the Drake started up here for GCS.
GCS 2008 Nissan Altima, of course, grabbing the first Drake at about 6 minutes. Not the biggest thing for them to get their hands on, but that is still a decent Drake to get their hands on, at least sort of for some of the passiveness. We are sitting at 1-0, like I said, about 6 minutes on the clock. So in about 2 minutes, we should have Void Grubs. When looking at these teams, I think if anyone wants to get Void Grubs the most, it's more than likely going to be this Jinx. So I've got to imagine that PSC is going to want to look for that Kenny, and looks like Cody going to duke it out, but once again, Situation coming in, making use of that ganking power that they have. Volibear forced to ult as Cody is absolutely on the run. Kitty trying to keep up, but it's just not going to happen. One ult down for Volibear, and pressure gain on the other side, but it looks like Nocturne's doing the exact same thing, taking a tower shot, taking a nice slap on the bum on his way out. Not as successful, but it is something.
I'm actually surprised Cody did not opt to just all in the Mbessa, who had no flash and no abilities left. But instead ult and flashes out, but really thought he'd be able to win that. Maybe not enough mana, perhaps, but still is able to avoid the gank. Kenny does get the back off, so won't be going down anytime soon.
The poking is still continuing. Minion playing the MVP. The flail coming in as Gucci walks forward and still continues to hammer this Kai'Sa, really struggling, actually picking up a trap, getting really close to taking another good chunk of damage. And this is going to make it very hard. Even if Thresh lands an amazing hook, this poke is just constantly going to keep them behind. But Jinx is low on mana, so there is still an opportunity for them to capitalize on that moving forward. Speaking of, about 20 seconds on the clock for the Void Grubs. It does not look like PSC is going to go for it, because we're looking for another gank. However, Lamppost Nocturne is at level 6. We have Paranoia, so he can turn this around sooner rather than later. There's the ping coming out. Maybe we're going to go for a tower dive, but that might be a bit of a mistake. I think at this point, you may as well try to get your hands on the Void Grub. Do a full reset, head top, get that objective, which is going to be way more important than getting kills.
Yeah, they are syncing up their back timers now, so... And we'll be walking out that way, so should be able to pick up the grubs pretty easily here. Kai'Sa should be able to recover quite a bit as well, thanks to that. And I think if you're GCS, you're more than happy to kind of give these grubs to let your Kai'Sa just have a better experience, as now the CS lead has definitely dwarfed it. It used to be much worse than this, but only 6 CS down now. They are finally resetting out, but grubs are the play here for PSC.
We did run to mid lane, cleared out, and we should have plenty of time in order to get their hands on this objective. Vision War has begun, plants have been popped, and this should be a pretty easy objective for PSC. It doesn't look like GCS 2008 Nissan Altima is really going to contest this one. I feel like they should have, but at this point, they're kind of past the point of being able to stop or really do too much of it. Thresh is here, but it's too little too late. Typically, if you want to do a rotation on the support, if you want to do a rotation, it's got to be before the 8-minute mark. Even though it was very delayed on each side, it was even more delayed when it came to the bot lane on red side.
Yeah, and unfortunately here for GCS is, again, they're kind of putting themselves in a really weird spot. Paranoia is being looked at here in the bot lane. Canelo playing really safe.
Yeah, I could feel the R. I could feel him hovering over, but it looks like he's going to think better of it and try to get his hands on one of this. As we're starting a fight over here, it looks like the tether is good, locking down the Thresh, but I don't think Gucci has the HP bar or the mana to follow it up. However, it does look like we've got a Sejuani looking for it. Paneranori going to get activated, as it looks like we're going to activate the Shockwave. No, we're going to hold on to it. Oh, no, we already blew it. However, we are going to get taken down as Lamppost picks up the first kill, not only for himself, but for his team, tying up the score 1-1, Aussie.
Yeah, for some reason, Canella finally tries to chunk out the Syndra with the Shockwave. Gank in the mid lane, hold that thought.
we are doing a little bit of a gank, but unfortunately it does not look like the slow is good. Lamppost is also here, so it's probably better that they did not lock down that thresh. That could have turned around rather quickly, like you just mentioned. We don't have paranoia, but the thing with Nocturne is, look at it, about a fourth of the cooldown is already up. That's going to be up, most of the game. And for me, Nocturne is really one of those good ones. If you're worried about Caitlyn right about this level, Nocturne's a good answer for it, because you can just constantly blow the ultimate on it. But we don't have that here. We have a Karma, we have Gucci, we have I believe that is Ahop, I think is how you pronounce that, as Canella continues to try to farm, and Lamppost just continues to show their presence. Got about 26 seconds, 25 seconds on the clock until the next upcoming Drake does pop its way down. The bear is in, trying to lock down Kinney, but Mbessa should be happy here for it, especially because Volibear's really running low on mana. 76 to 95 for the CS in top lane, though, Aussie.
Cody really stabilizing here, but to embellish the point I was talking about before potentially a gank in the mid lane happened, is Canella does eventually, or does waste the shockwave, and it just gives an in to Lamppost, even though he's playing so passive, but the Drake has started up.
Ooh. 3 looking to go in. PSC is in a good position. They do need to watch out for this fight as the Death Sentence come in, locking down Canella, trying to take them out. The Shockwave does get activated, but it only does so much for their team. So much damage on the side of GCS 2008 Nissan Altima as they pick up not only a kill, but a Drake.
I mean, hey, that's a great play from GCS. And unfortunately, the Sejuani ult misses as well. They find a great play onto Canella, and it's now GCS with just almost 2,000 gold. It is 1,900 gold now, but still 2 Drakes. They are Drake stacking, which has been such an important thing for many teams in terms of their win condition. And they're starting off strong with 2 and a nice little gold lead on the back.
Well, and this is kind of one of the negative side. Not that Camilla, not that Orianna specifically needs an amazing ball delivery system to make her really, really powerful, but that is one of the really powerful tools. And Sejuani is just not the world's best shockwave ball delivery system for it. Sure, you do have Mbessa, but it can be a little awkward to play off of it. And really, you're just sort of waiting for Mbessa to go in, or for the other side to get lucky, or for maybe them to run into it. So Camilla will really struggle in a lot of different ways with this shockwave sort of getting into a range. However, we're looking for another gank, trying to lock down the bear. There it is. And Bessa goes in, but the paranoia gets activated. I'm not sure going in is the call, though. This bear maybe I'll try to get out. However, we're going to go back in, and Bessa trying to find the damage, locking down Lamppost. Lamppost in about half HP, but we have a lot of health regen on each inside. Sejuani on this side, Super Technodon coming in. Feats of Warfare getting claimed by Nocturne Kitty, trying to duke it out, but it looks like the bear is the better of the two in this first little fight, and the Feats of Warfare get claimed by GCS 2008 Nissan Altima.
I'm not going to lie, a little worried there for GCS. Target selection a little off between Cody and Lamppost, but they get it done. Just to highlight, Gucci landing a very nice rocket to chunk out Lamppost as well to make that a little bit more uncomfortable. But again, it's GCS getting the better of these kind of skirmish plays coming out, putting themselves up 3 kills, and again, expanding their gold lead by another 1K, so they're up 3,000 gold here. CS leads now for the mid lane are great, and the CS lead in top as well. Really playing an impact now.
Well, I think this is kind of one of the nicer things of Red Side to sort of pick, is a lot of their picks are not difficult to play. Thresh is relatively straightforward. So is Volibear, so is Nocturne. Nocturne alt up, you go in, pretty simple. And then, of course, we've got Syndra on Mrs. Outplay button. She's got the R to outplay anyone in the game. So, very, very easy to follow up. Kaisa not being the worst. She has a little bit of a higher skill floor than I think the rest, in my opinion. But, nothing real crazy. And so when you're in sort of these easier champions, there can be a lot of comfort in it for them. And Bessa a little bit harder to pilot, and Sejuani also a bit harder to pilot. I'm not saying they're difficult necessarily, but more that they require just a little bit more hands, and more specifically, Sejuani requires a bit more distance to sort of get in there. They have a harder time. This is not going to be a Zen. This is not going to be a Wukong or anything like that. They very much so. Sejuani kind of just wants you to walk into them unless they're able to get a sort of surprise gank or an ice glacial celestial down or something to that effect. So a little bit harder for them to deal with. I do understand grabbing the Orianna, but I think it's got to be biting you in the butt. Like if you're that worried about Orianna, either grab yourself a ball delivery system or just ban it out, right? Like you have those options available, even if you want to try to focus on someone else. I think it was sort of a split-second decision, and I feel like that's biting them in the butt. Because if we had, say, Hui, for example, like that, instead of Orianna, the damage Hui would have been a get off right before that Drake, because Hui is so very hard to walk into, or even Azir. Walk into Azir, walk into Hui, even walk into Ari. There's so many other better options right there. Not that Orianna can't do a lot, but she needs a little bit to come online, and most importantly, she needs vision and she needs distance. And because she doesn't have that great of a ball delivery system, she doesn't have that distance. So she struggled in a lot of those different fights. But it looks like we're in our first dramatic pause. Hopefully it's not going to last too long, though, Aussie.
It wouldn't be an Olympus night without the standard Olympus pause. Those who know, especially from last week. But to talk more about the Ori can shine on her own, but man, you have to be such a great Ori player to make it shine when your team really doesn't give you a lot of options. Your best ball delivery here is probably going to be the Mbessa because she can public execution herself into the backline, which is what you want to hit. But the thing is, you can't really side lane this game because you have to always constantly be worried about the paranoia threat from the Nocturne. And Syndra as well. Syndra can very easily just blow you up. Not even the Merc Treads, as actually we will get the reconnect coming through from Lamppost. So hopefully pause will be over soon, but not even Merc Treads built up here for the Orianna, which is the most consistent thing rushed against Syndra. Denies her out so much pressure for a while in the side lane. You just rush Merc Treads and then she has no kill threat on you for a very long time, but not going to have that here. Will be the Seraph's build coming out at the very least, so we'll have that when that upgrades into Archangels. But again, GCS so far been kind of outplaying, again, bot lane kind of struggled a little bit in the early game, but that's kind of just the nature of their lane. Kai'Sa outranged by the Jinx and the Karma. Thresh on the back foot in the lane as well, just due to the range difference. And Karma just being just such a great early game support in terms of poke with the mantra Qs that can be a little difficult to lane. But they have staved it off, and I believe they're even up CS or even. So yeah, should be they're exactly even. So.
Ooh, we're going to look for a little bit of an ultimate. We're really holding that one in there in the bot lane. Kenny, maybe in a little bit of trouble. This Volibear's a bit more fed than he was previously. He's up in CS, got caught up in kills, of course, because of those ganks. But sort of looking at this, you got to keep in mind, we're sitting about 14 minutes and 46 seconds, technically, 15 minutes or so on the clock. This is about when we enter what a lot of people call the mid phase or the team fight phase. So we should see a dramatic shift from both ends, and it really just depends on how they're going to cover it. The lane fight phase, the early phase, is still very, very important, but at this point, Jinx and Karma should lose a bit of their advantage, so that's something they can follow up. Thresh should do a little bit better here. Lamppost has just such great reaction time that Paranoia is, sort of being a near global ultimate. I don't remember if they knocked it down or not. They're being a near global ultimate there for it. Kenny, Cody still trading out. But we can't watch out the other side though too. There is an opportunity for Canella to find the damage, to find the shock waves, but they're very much so struggling in the lane phase, especially into someone like Syndra. Syndra has that range, which is something Orianna struggles with on their own, which is why they need that ball delivery system in a lot of different ways. If this was someone like Hui, you can sort of play him up. You can play a little bit more up on Hui than you can Syndra, even though he can still nuke you. It makes things a little bit awkward. So when you see players in like Path to Pro or some of, a lot of damage right there on Camilla going down to about half HP, outplay button does come in, but unfortunately it's not going to be a kill in the bot lane. Syndra having a harder time getting the execute than I expected, Aussie.
Yeah, won't have the damage there, but does chunk out the Orianna. 35 seconds to the Drake now. And should PSC choose to fight this could be a very pivotal moment in the game. Because if GCS managed to win this team fight, that will be the game-breaking play essentially here, where it will be very, very, very hard for PSC to kind of come back in terms of gold. But no Unleashed Power going to be available for it on spawn. Will be maybe about 30 more seconds off.
And it looks like we are sensing how important getting this Drake is going to be, because we're doing a little bit of sieging in the mid lane. However, we have tied up the player count going 3v3 on this end. I don't expect too much happening just quite yet, but the problem will be making it to the objective. Death sentence is good, but it does catch the Sejuani. Probably not the best one. You're going to have Flay coming in, but still not able to do too much, trading a whole bunch of damage as Orianna able to do a shockwave on top of this Thresh, but Thresh still sitting about half HP, and we still have the rest of the team to worry about it. Both top laners are still in top lane, but a note to point out is Cody still has his TP, so can tie up the number advantage very quickly.
And Haumea here in a very interesting position. Herald going to be used mid here for some extra pressure on this wave.
Shelly coming down. Thresh looking for a death sentence. Cody and Kenny duking it out. The Paranoia going to get activated, but an exhaust coming down
Prism misses
immediately as Shelly goes in looking for it, but it looks like we're going to pick up a root immediately, just barely able to get out. That is the power of the
nice hook!
Lantern as the death sentence comes over the wall, locking them down, but Jinx getting her first reset, grabbing her second one. She's out for blood. She wants these kills. Lamppost is on the run, and somehow PSC is able to turn it around as Kenny dies in top lane, looking like they got ran over by a car. A 2008 Nissan Altima, you might say.
GCS just unfortunately not having enough damage to get through this front line of Caxi, essentially just solo front line. And they used maybe a little bit too much. The Paranoia wasn't used that great. Lamppost going in, kind of forcing himself to just immediately back away. Glacial Prison does miss again coming out from Caxi, but it will net PSC the Drake, so they buy themselves an extra 5 minutes in terms of needing to fight for the soul, and find themselves some much-needed gold. But yeah, again, also really shockingly, Machin taking the Herald into the mid tower to put himself in a weird position. Did have the Thresh Lantern there, but still kind of pretty unsafe. But yeah, just unfortunate play coming out from GCS where they just didn't really have enough damage, and it might have just really come down to just not great target priority.
Well, and we didn't coordinate too well on GCS 2008 Nissan Altima. You know, the Paranoia was sort of just a little bit off from the death sentence. Even though that was a very, very good death sentence, it just wasn't enough to salvage that fight. And the biggest thing, though, too, is all Gucci was able to get their first reset and turn that into 2 kills. I did tell you that the team fight phase was going to be a bit different. We were going to see at least some sort of tempo shift. Cody going for the tower, looking for it. Kenny getting a couple of free shots, but not able to stop the bear as Cody just tanks it, taking down that one. And it looks like we're focusing on pressure for the mid lane to try to get down that T1 as well, and it'll be the last remaining one. Looks like we are going to get it. It's going to be 3 T1s down, which is why the gold lead is so staggering in the favor of GCS 2008 Nissan Altima, sitting about 30k to 35k in GCS 2008 Nissan Altima's favor.
Yeah, and great macro coming out from GCS, recognizing some drop tempo here from PSC after the Drake fight, and Cody kind of being unmatchable in the side lane right now, especially by the Ambessa. So far, GCS, in terms of playing around gold, has been making quite a bit of gold for themselves. But again, the ever looming threat is the Jinx here for PSC, who is 2-0, has 2 items plus tier 2 boots, which is going to be very, very, very strong comparatively to Kaisa at this point.
Nocturne itching to get his Paranoia off. I can feel it coming as the fight does start. We've got to protect the Jinx. However, it looks like Thresh immediately going to get chewed and taken down, activating his ultimate, but it did not matter. And Autocon is on the table, but there are still 4 people who might have something to say about it, even though you have the number advantage. That armor shred turns fight after fight around, so you need to be careful with this. We do have Shockwave, which will be a very important tool in these cramped spaces, as Lamppost at least doing a little bit of a love tap going in. Oh, the Orianna's not here. Camilla's in mid lane. That's a bit of a mistake. That could have been a kill. A little bit frustrated, however, we're going to get one anyways, as we're going to lock down the Syndra, taking a whole bunch of damage. Sejuani over the wall, able to do a good chunk of damage. Hoppet taking a good chunk of damage as well, as Lamppost going back in. There is the Shockwave activating that, finally making it on the other side as the Flash comes over the wall. But Sejuani's not going to let it go, but they're going to run directly into a trap of their own. Death Sentence barely catching the after image of a Sejuani on their way out. Could have turned into absolute spaghetti, but most importantly, we did not get Autocon. We are going to get the mid lane, which will be nice for Jinx, and we are going to get a kill, bringing us 5 to 6 Aussie, 34k to 38k.
And we're kind of seeing what exactly has been driving PSC forward through the split to the number 2 seed, and it is just how damn good this team is at team fighting. They really don't overstep in terms of team fighting. They play it to basically right on the edge. And it's paying off for them, right? Like they aren't over-aggressing into this GCS. In fact, they even played to the point that they got 3 flashes out from very important members. They pulled the trigger on Chewie at just the right time, where there was no response for Cody, where they just instantly blow up the Thresh to give them. And while they don't get the Atacon, it is still gonna have, like, they're gonna have map control here coming into this 4th Drake.
Speaking of control, one of the big indicators on how this objective goes is, of course, the banana bush. He who controls the banana bush controls the objective. TP down. We have plenty of numbers, plenty of beef here for it, as the positioning is much better on GCS 2008 Nissan Altima, but we are watching the other end as Sejuani gets a little bit caught. However, Orianna still making their way down. We're looking for the tether, but it's not going to be enough, just barely escaping out of that. And most importantly, GCS 2008 Nissan Altima has lost their positioning for this objective, and Banana Bush is quickly switching back to control on the other end.
Yeah, it should be the Drake startup here, but GCS really want this fight, Korak.
Absolutely, for a million different reasons. Death Hook is good, grabbing someone who you don't want it to. Paranoia going to get activated, but Mbessa's absolutely tearing up the back line. 1v3, and as the Death Rocket comes in, that's going to be a triple kill on the Jinx. First reset going for the 4th one. The bear is out, but he's going to be back in immediately looking for a kill, but it's not going to be good enough as Gucci goes in, trying to grab another kill, but Camila able to grab the last little bit of damage, and only the mid laner is going to walk away from this wreckage, Aussie.
Yeah, and again, PSC with a perfect team fight. Jinx gets a triple kill instantly there. It is just so insane how PSC can play the team fights this well. The Jinx is now 5-0-2. They pick up their 2nd Drake. And it does seem like GCS are kind of all over the place. They try to dive on the Jinx, but here comes Kenny on a blind spot from the blue side jungle to really return the direction of GCS's focus. Goes in, disrupts the Syndra, disrupts the Kai'Sa, and then they have nothing left to play around. Kai'Sa doesn't even get her ult off in that fight because the Jinx rocket just straight up slays her. GCS have got to find an answer to the Jinx soon, or this game is just over.
Absolutely. All Gucci sitting at 5-0. That is a very powerful, very happy ADC for a lot of different reasons. And one fight, turned a bit of a disadvantage into a lead. We're sitting at 9-6. Only about a 2K difference. Nasher and Autocon are up, so this is going to matter even more. And something I wanted to point out is the reason why I brought up the mid lane, the reason why I brought up the team fight phase is because League of Legends is a lot like chess, where tempo is so important. And if you study chess or just study the players and understand why they do what they do, it's the same thing with League of Legends, just League of Legends has more moves to play with because there's a million more different pieces. So that is something to watch out for, and that tempo shifted on the other side. Kenny got down there and 1v3'd, buying time for Jinx to do that, but they only got that because they were out of lane phase. They only got that because because the tempo shift and PSC adapted to it quickly. However, there is still at least a minor lead on the end of GCS 2008 Nissan Altima. So, they have an opportunity to turn this around, but they need to tie it together. They need to make use of the advantages that they have. They have Paranoia, they have Thresh, two sort of off meta-ish picks, but that can be to your advantage. But when you have two off sort of meta-ish picks, you really, really need to play into it. I think Nocturne a little bit less so. I think he's a bit more common the higher and higher up you get than, say, Thresh right now, but still not super, super crazy common. It's not your Zens, it's not your Wukongs, it's not what you see, over and over Jarvan 8 million times. And so we really, really need to try to play into that. We need to punish the split pushes. We need to sort of suss this out. And the other thing, though, too, is it's very, very hard for GCS 2008 Nissan Altima to go into PSC because you still have Orianna. Even though Orianna had sort of a crap lane phase. Ooh, we're looking for a little bit of fight here. It looks like
nice flash.
Syndra. Absolutely smoothing it out as it looks like Kenny coming in for the Autocon. We are starting this fight. Kenny needs to act as a ward to get ready here for this. Lamppost in. Lamppost looking for the steal, but you don't want to run directly into Kenny as we're looking for the damage. We do have Paranoia. Paranoia going to get activated as we're looking for the fight. Death Sentence going down onto the jungler. Looking for the fight, looking for the steal as the bear goes in from downtown. There it is. Situani going in there and Exhaust activating on top of it. Hollow in danger. We're getting our first couple of resets as it looks like nobody is paying attention to the Jinx. Looking for her third kill. Looking for more blood. As only two left standing here for this objective. No jungles on either side. Autocon ready to go. We do have miss outplay button as Kenny going down pretty low on HP. You still have to watch out for the Autocon.
It's now a second objective that PSC has baited GCS into fighting over, where it's a losing fight for GCS.
Ooh. The damage coming in. I can feel the death sentence. We're looking for it. Unfortunately, going to turn into a bit of a whiff. That would have been a kill for sure. Syndra still trying to duke it out. And this is the power of Syndra Thresh. There's still someone you have to watch out for. And it's also the power of Autocon. Autocon absolutely shredded the armor. And at this point, even though PSC won the fight, GCS 2008 Nissan Altima still stopped the objective, which is going to buy them more and more time. Even if the tempo has shifted in the side of blue side, there's still ways they can play around this. They can wait for their opportunity, because one of the biggest things to try to capitalize on, and you have such a great tool in the Paranoia, is you can wait for the capitalization of the missteps, the misplays, and most importantly, the misplacement. If Thresh is able to get you and get a good death sentence, and we start that as a fight, you get that number advantage.
Oh my god!
Look at this. It looks like Red Side's going to try to get their hands on the Autocon, and there's no response from PSC. Where are your wards? This is a little devastating. Don't you have a blue trinket or something? We do. It's up. Jinx, buddy, use it. Oh,
it's 15 seconds to the soul point here, and they get Atacon for free. They're starting Baron.
You can't do this. I don't even know what to say, honestly. The entire team's not responding.
Look at the health. It's
I know
gone.
This is a horror movie moment where you're saying don't go up the stairs, but what are you doing this time? Go up the stairs. That's two objectives for free. You can't give them up for free. GCS 2008 Nissan Altima did not win the fights, but they won the two objectives.
What a grand heist. Will be soul point over to PSC though, so next 5 minutes going to be very important, but 3 minutes here for GCS to maybe get some map control back with the Baron. And just, again, absolute theft coming through. The Atacon and the Baron, absolutely massive pickups here for GCS. Able to, juxtapose themselves in this match as maybe a threat now with the Atacon take for sure, thanks to the free stats, but still, they might actually be able to pick up this mid tower. We'll be able to
I think this is also a good example of, why League of Legends is different from chess. Oh, gee whiz, shocker. Why League of Legends is different from chess, because when you lose tempo in chess, you have to regain it back, and there's very limited ways in which you can do that. However, in League of Legends, that is not the case. When you lose tempo, if you're losing tempo in team fights and you've lost that entirely in team fights, seize your opportunities, just like GCS 2008 Nissan Altima did. They saw, hey, they're just going to let us get these objectives, and then they just took objective after objective, which is super, super helpful. Even though the kills are really important, even though the team fights are very, very important, objectives are what win you the game. This is not a KDA-based game. It's an objective-based game, and I think people forget that.
Most certainly, Hellman now shoving in the spot wave. is pretty susceptible to getting ganked in the side lane, but should be able to pick up this tier 2 quite handedly. Baron Cannon is actually just completely destroying this tower, so we'll find themselves another tier 2. And again, it is kind of the macro dominance coming out of GCS in terms of like getting themselves gold that gave them their first initial in as well into this match. If you recall, way back about 25 minutes ago or so, 25 to 20 minutes ago. So now with the Baron, 50 seconds left here on the timer. So last couple waves coming through. For them to utilize. Might be a little bit too awkward for them to really play on anything, so I suspect that tier 2 in bot will be the last thing that they grab, and they're going to take their resets.
But still, taking down 2 T2s adds a lot of pressure, adds more tempo back to your side. Because at this point, PSC has shown that they want to do these team fights. They want to pop these off. They want to get the resets on Jinx. And GCS 2008 Nissan Altima is doing everything they can to deny it. They're playing the macro game. They're playing the objectives, and they're playing it well. And despite all of that, despite the fact that they've lost a lot of these team fights and it's 12-7, the gold very much so is in the favor of GCS 2008 Nissan Altima. And you've got to remember too, autocon doesn't count inside the gold the way you might think. Captain Flowers is very synonymous with saying that it's about like almost a 2K difference just picking up autocon, so that gold counter is a bit more deceptive. We have quite the wallet on red side.
Yeah, the one thing and one struggle for GCS consistently has been the Jinx. The Jinx is the thorn in their side, and they haven't been able to really find a great solve and how to deal with it. Because their engages have been so disconnected. With Baron falling off now, not really much left for them to do but keep shoving in these waves. Minute 40 to the potential soul for PSC. Some backs coming in once again from GCS, so I think we're going to be farming here for another minute and a half before we get anything crazy, barring some misplays, which, bound to happen in Emerald, but seems pretty unlikely with how both of these teams have been playing.
It has been a pretty solid performance on each, and no one's really had any like crazy missteps. Sure, there's things people could have done better, but it's nothing that's been like particularly egregious. Ooh, they are taking the bait. The Pandora is going to get activated, trying to lock them down. Sejuani take a little bit of damage, but that is still the tank as the Paranoia, did not pop off like they want it to, and that's going to be an important resource down. However, it does look like we're doing a little bit of regrouping. I don't think GCS 2008 Nissan Altima really wants to take this fight, and PSC is trying to capitalize on the tempo shift once again to take out a T2 to tie things up and put more pressure on the mid lane, because there's 40 seconds on the clock. Looking for this one as Cody goes in and has to run out. Oh, I got to watch out for this. You don't want to get caught here, and I don't think it's going to happen. Banana Bush firmly in the control of the other side. Death Sentence is going to miss as it looks like Kitty's going in. Thrush getting absolutely wrecked.
Nice Shockwave.
Shockwave going to get activated. Oh, Gucci got the first reset. Looking for the second one. Going to pick up another kill. That's a double kill. Looking for a triple. Trying to lock them down. There's going to be a triple kill. Can they get the quadra? No. We're going to back off, but most importantly, this objective, this soul, is going to fall to PSC because Nocturne is down.
Well, if you remember what I was just saying about the Jinx being a thorn in their side, a triple kill will embellish what I was just saying. And the disconnection coming from GCS shows up again. Rears its ugly head. They lose the Infernal Soul now to a 9-0 Jinx. For some reason, Chewy is trying to find an angle, but can only find the Sejuani, and they can't kill Sedge fast enough. And Jinx is just completely free hitting the entire time. Lamppost didn't even have Paranoia available. Machin just goes down without using the Killer Instinct once again. And it's now GCS, despite some decent macro decisions, on the back foot with the second Baron spawned in.
Indeed, Baron is up. No bodies on the floor, but we do have a couple of bodies here ready to go for this. And I think calling Jinx a thorn in their side at this point is a bit of an understatement. This is an entire rose bush in your chest, a 9-0 rose bush. But this is a double-edged sword. If they can isolate, if they can take down this Jinx, if they can take down all Gucci, watch out for it. Well, it is. Look, the Paranoia is going to be good. We're trying to do exactly that. Redemption coming in, trying to keep Lamppost alive, but it's not enough to keep you safe from a 9-0 Jinx. Now a 10-0 Jinx getting their first reset, trying to lock down the Thresh, taking down Chewy. Chewy falling to pieces. That is a good play, but it's not going to save you as Kenny picks up a kill.
Whoa.
Jinx taking a good chunk of damage. I'm not sure what Syndra's doing, but she's definitely dying as Mbessa's going to sit at 6-0, or sorry, 6-2.
This very easily can be the game. Gucci is pretty low, though, but with the Jinx resets and maybe the Jinx range, might be okay. Is healing up on the red buff. And Korak, PSC, the Jinx, it goes deathless potentially here, as they will back off. They are going to go towards the Baron, so a bit of a safer play here. But still, GCS with a complete desperation play to try and kill this Jinx. And if you recall all the way back in the draft, like 40 minutes ago, when I was talking about one of the problems about Nocturne, specifically with this comp, is they don't really have great follow-up options with him. So he's basically diving in 1v5. And now Baron's gone.
Ooh, there it is. Paranoia going in, but unfortunately it's going to get Lamppost killed. However, he's looking for some sort of advantage, trying to lock down the Karma, but it's hard to catch a Karma as Kenny goes in, looking for a little bit of kill, and this might already be the end of game number 1 as kill after kill happens. There's going to be a double kill, looking for the triple kill. The only one remaining is the Syndra. This is quite the insane performance on all Gucci. That name is correct because it's all turning up Gucci in game number 1.
And finally, PSC decide we're going to end the game now. Thanks to, again, another desperate play from GCS, albeit, again, just outscaled. And Jinx, 13-0-6 in this match. Completely unkillable. And finally, PSC will fit in this game at 37 minutes. GCS, unable to find the one person that matters in this match a single time.
And it's so devastating. We did have the tempo shift. You know, we did have quite the advantage at one point for GCS 2008 Nissan Altima for red side. And you could see what they were going for. You could see they're going for the objectives. I thought the game was over when they took both Autocon and Baron. What a great play. What a great way to turn those things around. But a lot of times, if you want to know who's going to win the game, you need to understand what advantages each team has. What can they lean on in order to win the game? And the nice thing is for, you know, PSC, their thing was like, it's team fight. It's simple. It's easy to execute. We set up a team fight, we get an objective. We set up a team fight, we get an objective. And that results in Jinx just getting absolutely fed for a lot of different reasons. Look at the damage right there. 30k on the Mbessa and 34k on the Jinx. And I don't believe she died once at all. So she did perfect it for sure.
And the biggest gripe for me is Thresh. Just really, you don't have great impact this game, right? Like, your only death sentences are landing on the Sejuani for majority of the game. You did hit some decent ones coming through against like Canela or something, but what are you to do against the Jinx Karma? Nothing. You can't do anything. Your champ isn't designed around dealing with those champs. So you add nothing to your Nocturne outside of maybe lanterning him out when he goes in, but like that's not what Nocturne wants to do. He wants to stay in and have dive. And you also drafted Kaisa with something that's better at disengage. Thresh can have good engage moments, but his kit really is designed around standing your ground and kind of disengaging and playing fights a little bit slower. But Kaisa has such great snap dive that why are we not playing something like a Rakan, like a Leona? It is a little hard into the Karma pick, but this Thresh, I think, really hung their draft out left to dry. Maybe a little bit of the Nocturne too. Early picking Nocturne and then not building your draft around helping the Nocturne dive, I think also really ended up being a very major point of contention for GCS, because it really was Nocturne goes in and then he just dies 1v4 because no one else on his team can help him because they're getting doed by Mbessa Sejuani that they can't kill.
And it might have worked if they had been focusing, Paranoia on all Gucci early on in the games. Because, like, even in those fights sort of towards the end, Nocturne got really, really close to taking down Jinx. And if Nocturne traded themselves for Jinx, that would be a lot of gold out of the deal. Either way, we can both speculate till we are blue in the face. We're going to roll into a short break. Not sure exactly how long. It depends on how long it takes to herd the cats, the players, into the games themselves. But we're going to run some ads. So hopefully we we won't see them during the actual game itself. We can't turn them off, nothing we could do, but make sure to stay tuned.
You do like you do like crazy, oh 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 crazy, oh 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 crazy, crazy, oh oh crazy, oh 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 crazy, 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 like crazy, 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 crazy,
Alrighty, from a banger of game number 1, moving into game number 2, we are keeping the sides, which means, of course, PSC is going to stick on the blue side, and of course, GCS 2008 Nissan Altima going to stick on the red side. Our score, 1-0 PSC, looking in kind of a uncomfortable spot for a little bit of a couple of mistakes, but the consistency won out, and they were able to get a very, very fed jinx.
Hey, I mean, if you can win the game off micro, you might as well. If you can give up the Atacon, give up the Baron, as long as you out micro your opponents and win every single team fight, you're bound to win the game at some point. And they did just that. Again, some macro mistakes coming out from PSC, hanging both the Baron and the Atacon one after the other. Maybe not the most ideal thing that you want to see, but they got it done in the end of the day off of a monstrous performance from All Gucci. 13-0 on Jinx. And, we talked a little bit before our break about, GCS kind of struggling a little bit because they set themselves up for failure in the draft just a tad. And hopefully they don't repeat that mistake coming into this game. Again, this does have some implications here for seeding. GCS is 3rd seed already. So if they do win this, they will hop up to 2nd seed. But PSC showcasing in that last game what exactly got them to 2nd seed in the first place. And to be honest, this might just be the best team fighting team in the entire league. If they are playing like that,
feels like it, yeah.
That was just absolutely disgusting team fights coming through from Post and Clarity. That I'm happy to see more, but GCS have got to find an answer to it quickly if they want to find themselves in the 2nd seed.
Absolutely. And this is kind of something to note on, if you are going to play something that's weird, and I know I've said this before, but if you're going to play something that is just a little bit weirder off of the meta itself, you've got to really lean very, very heavily into that, especially if you're going to start from a draft phase for sure. And it looks like they just weren't able to do it. The reason why the meta is the meta in a lot of different ways is because the meta allows you to be a lot more consistent. And that's one of the biggest ways to climb in solo queue, to win games. Oftentimes, the most consistent team is the one that can win, but that doesn't mean there's not a strategy in the subversion of expectations, in the weird and the strange picks, and I don't think that there's not an insane amount of reasons to try it here and there. Maybe not, this close into the playoffs, because we're week number 7, if I remember correctly. We're moving into playoffs after this, whenever that eventually does show up. But it's just hard to see that. And I was worried about the Orianna not having the ball delivery system, but something I was thinking about, throughout that game is, if GCS 2008 Nissan Altima had been able to get their hands on the Orianna when Nocturne went in, he might have been able to just take out fights, because it would have been basically a 1v2, with this massive shockwave, and it would have not only provided an insane amount of damage, but it would have been a bit of CC. It would have been a little bit of rearranging people here and there on that side. But we do have a picture right now of the picks that have gone through. Keep in mind, this is Fearless, so we will not see these again. And it looks like we have fancy graphics down below our big collective dumb heads, where we can see what the Fearlesses are. First couple of bands are coming out. First, starting with Silas for PSC, and for GCS Nissan Altima, we've got a hover.
Yeah, so no side select change here from GCS, so wanting to stay on the red side. To talk a little bit more about last game's draft, and to highlight another issue, is PSC first pick Jinx, which means you don't need to pick your AD carry instantly with the Nocturne. They had the ability to lock Ori Nocturne together in 1-2, but instead, for whatever reason, they decide to lock in Kaisa when they don't need to, right? Like, maybe they're scared that the Orianna gets picked, but or counter picked. But Orianna has been such a consistent mid laner that even against some of her worst, I guess not worst, but worse matchups, that she can be okay, especially when you are paired up with something in a 2v2 side that's so dominant with the Nocturne. But we're keeping the AD carry B1 strong, and we're getting a Zeri for All Gucci.
That's a bit of a weird pick for me. I don't like where Zeri is at. Granted, like maybe this is a super, super amazing Zeri, and we're going to go from Zeri into Vayne. Okay, I feel like we've gone back in time. This is not a matchup I expect to see in 2025 right about this split, but that's going to be insane to do it. We're going to grab from that into Braum. Braum was available. Braum should do decent into Zeri for a lot of different reasons. There is a possibility that this is Vayne top. I don't know how she frequents now, but she has been synonymous with top for a long time. The answer is also going to be Maokai, which is a bit of a flex pick, can be played support, and of course can be played jungle, so it could still go either way on this one, Aussie.
Something I'm a little worried about for PSC to pick up is that literally what I was just about to say, the Lulu. The Lulu into Braum is so devastating for Braum to play against, and Zeri Lulu, probably the best 2v2, in terms for like Zeri pairings. But we're going to see a little bit of a guy who gets to go where he pleases. Had a dominant showcase at Worlds 5-0, including one with Owner picking it first time, having no clue what the champ does and still winning on it, as a testament to how good the champ is. Obviously flexible here, could flex into the top lane. So some flexible picks coming out of GCS. I'd imagine that the Vayne is going to go bot. Because you do kind of have some funny condemn angles off of Zeri eating through walls where you can just insta-condemn her and she's instantly stunned. But the Lulu is going to be a very, 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 very big pain point, I think, for this bot lane of GCS. And PSC, to mention, did just randomly drop a ban. That is literally, they don't have a ban there. We have no clue why they decided to not ban, but they don't have a ban. So will be Victor locked in here for GCS, and I think Victor's a decent blind here with what's left open. I don't hate it.
So speaking of Victor and it being a good blind, something I don't like blind is Dr. Mundo. Especially if this is Dr. Mundo top, because Dr. Mundo wants to do two things. He wants to get a lot of gold, and he wants to beat you to death with his health bar. He needs to leverage those two things for a win, and that can be very, very hard to do. So if this is Dr. Mundo top lane, there's a lot of opportunities for PSC to turn it around. The pick is going to be Sion, very, very powerful for sure. And of course, we're going to have Yone. Yone is really, really nice because Yone is a lot like Blitzcrank. Blitzcrank can miss, 244, pulls. But if he gets one or two really good ones, it'll absolutely devastate a game. And it's the same thing with Yone. Yone can just get absolutely creamed the majority of the game, but they get like a 3-man, a 4-man ult, and it's absolutely game-changing. Last pick, though, is going to be set. So this looks like it's going to be Dr. Mundo in the jungle, which, thank God, I'm way more of a fan of that than I am anything else. Dr. Mundo into it, believe it is Maokai, and I do agree with you. Braum very much so in the bot lane, going back over there. Very much so wants to fight melees. He wants to fight the Leonas. He wants to fight the Rels. He wants to fight the Nautiluses because that Q is so powerful, and it gives him an advantage then, and that shield just keeps people away. But at this point, Lulu might take a Q or two, but she can absolutely EQAA and destroy this Braum. With me being a support player myself and Lulu being one of my most played champions, I'm perfectly happy playing into Braum. I'm perfectly happy playing into Vayne. I'm going to EQAA you out of oblivion, and hopefully we lean into that, Aussie.
Yeah, and something that's really devastating into Vayne is actually Polymorph. You won't get the whimsy on the Zeri, but when you can completely prevent the Vayne from trading back at all with that Polymorph, preventing her from also, one of the strongest things about Vayne is her micro stealth with the final hour tumble combo, where you get the microseconds of stealth, where you're kind of causing chaos. The E, which does give vision as well, will shut that down, but also the Polymorph will play a big impact here. But if Machin can avoid the Lulu, will pair quite well into the Sion and the Maokai. That is kind of the strength of the Vayne in this comp, is they do have quite a bit of ways of getting through the sheer health bars in the front line of PSC.
Absolutely. And having an answer to Sion, whether it was directly or not, or just sort of a happy accident, is going to be very, very important. Vayne is very, very capable of doing that. And most importantly, too, is we've got a Maokai. Maokai is not the tankiest tool in the shed. A lot of times, Maokai is a bit of a skirmisher where he wants to go in, blow a whole bunch of his things, get his passive off, and then go out just a little bit, and then immediately go back in as soon as his cooldowns are off cooldown, where Dr. Mundo doesn't really care about that. Dr. Mundo can just stay in the fight, Set can just stay in the fight. And if, Kenny is there just sort of taking up the entire front line and Vayne's just sort of left alone, she can absolutely rock the competition. It's going to depend on the rest of the team, but that does put her in a little bit of danger. It could still go either way, but I see the idea for each one. I'm not as big fan of Azeri, but this is all Gucci. All Gucci seems to be very confident with this pick and going into this play, so hopefully it doesn't bite them in the butt. They do have a Lulu, which I still think is very, very powerful and still my favorite support, but we're starting off now game number 1 between PSC and GCS 2008 Nissan Altima. Game number 2, potential match point.
Yeah, so here, to touch more a bit why Mundo in the jungle is so oppressive, is you just get to completely ignore his early game woes. You get to just farm for free in the jungle, which is why Kiana came back in the meta. They did buff her, but like these assassins, right, they also get to kind of ignore their early game weakness, right? Like where they're just kind of weak into range and don't get to really play the lane out. Jungle, it completely flips that, right? Because we're not playing in a lane or in a state where heavy invading and heavy jungler interaction is really that popular right now. And picking it into something like a Maokai, who literally is not going to be invading the Mundo, because if he does, he's just going to die. Is very, very, very impactful, and there's really not much in the way here for PSC to get through something as tanky as the Mundo. I mean, we saw it at Worlds so many times where 80 carries are sitting there hitting him for like 15 seconds, and he just pops his ult, goes back up to full HP, and then kills the 80 carry.
Absolutely, and it might be what is a common strategy for dealing with Aatrox, right? Because a lot of times you don't want to fight Aatrox. Sometimes the goal is to ignore Aatrox, kill everyone else, and then kill Aatrox, which could be an angle to lock down Lamppost. Easier said than done, because of course we've got Set, we've got Victor to run through, we've got Braum to run through, so definitely easier said. Ooh, a lot of poking coming directly on Vayne. This is what I was talking about with Lulu. This is such a hard matchup for both Braum. Just Lulu being here will do an insane amount. All Gucci able to follow it up with a lot of damage, but the tempo is very much so because of this Lulu. A little bit of tower shot, but that won't matter too much. But the big thing, though, is like I was saying before, the teams playing into their advantages are how they're going to win this. So each side is going to have their own little bit of advantages, and we cannot count Maokai out. Twisted Advance is still extremely powerful. Nature's Grasp is still extremely powerful, and most importantly, we have the saplings. Saplings are free wards. You get there before objectives, especially if you're looking for AP. However, Kenny may be in a little bit of trouble starting to fight here with Cody, as Cody takes 1 or 2 tower shots. Lamppost runs away, thinking better of that engagement. Good call. Sion is still very scary to go into, but playing in these advantages, going back to what I was saying earlier, are going to be so important for sure. And I think PSC wants to get to these objectives before the other side, so they can set up what little advantages they need. Because even if the saplings don't do like an insane amount of AP damage, it's still a free ward and a slow.
Yeah, one of the biggest pain points I think of playing against Maokai is the saplings, just how much free vision you can get in a match with sapling. But the bot lane woes continue here for GCS. Same thing happened in the last match as well, where they kind of drafted themselves into a very difficult lane. But Magen,
just one more AA. That's all it takes. And this is exactly why I love Lulu. See, and this feels like a very old combination. Vayne, Braum into Lulu, Zeri, because Zeri's sort of fallen out of favor in a lot of different ways. She can still do a lot, but I think she's a little weird right now, just kind of in the meta. And, maybe I'm just not up to date on her when it comes to that, so I could be wrong there. But, like, Lulu is someone I know and I'm very familiar with them overall, and she's got to be loving this match. She set the tempo so well, and we're already getting our first plates. Would have been nicer to just give it solo to Zeri, but that's going to be a free 63 gold on top of the CS you have. It's 44-33, and the biggest thing Vayne needs is a gold advantage, but this is only the team fight phase. This is only the laning phase. It will change during the team fight phase.
Yeah, I mean, again, though, like the difference in gold and also denying so much of that wave was a cannon wave that they crashed, but the cannon had like 1 tower shot worth of HP, so it instantly died. So Vayne actually bled so much XP and gold just due to that crash. And again, something I think GCS moving into playoffs, regardless if they do end up winning this match, is they kind of do need to start drafting themselves in a better state, right? Like, this is now twice in a row where they've drafted themselves a much worse bot lane, and it's forced them in a very unfavorable position. Level 5's coming across already, but gank on the back end.
Maokai looking for it, going for the Vayne would be good. There it is. The Twisted Advance is good. So is the Q. Locking down the Vayne. First blood going to PSC. Already having that tool ready to go. Those ganking powers so powerful. Twisted Advance doing a lot of work with just a couple of buttons.
Yeah, I mean, again, Vayne just over-aggressing there, and Caxi not even needing the flash, which is the most important bit. And Vayne opting for Ghost this match instead of something like the Cleanse. Will net PSC their first blood and their first Drake here in this match. Won't be the Infernal Soul repeat.
Great start to that side. The response for Lamppost is going to be grabbing, by the way, great name, by the way, Lamppost. Lamppost is going to respond by taking the blue buff. That's something that matters more and more as the game goes on, because I think something that people forget is right about, I believe, the 25-minute mark, and maybe someone in chat can correct me on the exact timing. But at some point, that blue buff and red buff turn into, oh no, we're going to have to watch out for it and blow an ultimate in order to escape. That's a little unfortunate, but we are still alive, about half HP.
And thankfully, the Fate Shield does space out for Canella. Doesn't need to blow the flash, but again, the bot lane here really struggling to get going, and
Joey already at half HP, yeah.
Like it's just so difficult. Braum is level 6 now, but Majin's still not having the final hour available. Lamppost does need to maybe look at getting active here, as Grub's being taken now for completely free, right? Like, their Scion just backed in the face of Set, and we are not even worried about trying to contest these Grubs, which is a little concerning for GCS. They did have some decent macro last game, but this game falling to the wayside a little bit.
Dr. Mundo is coming around, but at this point, the lion's share should be good. There is going to be those really powerful saplings. Maokai's children going to chase down that pesky Dr. Mundo, grabbing themselves 2 of these Void Grubbies, which is going to be so powerful on Kenny. Even if Kenny gets absolutely creamed in lane, those Void Grubs are going to help him so much. You know, and denying them from Dr. Mundo is also going to be really important, because even though this is a jungle Dr. Mundo still does go where he pleases.
Oh, Canella playing on a knife's edge there.
HP. Yeah.
Knife's edge there. But hey, better to play on a knife's edge than falling off the edge and going back to base in the grayscale. But PSC is still in a very good position, especially around this bot lane. The item advantage here for Zeri is so massive. BF Sword to a Vamp Scepter is...
Ooh, Nature's Grasp. Maybe a little bit off, though. This might be hard about it. We're going to try to lock them down. Unfortunately, it's not going to be good enough. Not the world's worst cooldown, but just a casual walk away without looking at the explosion. Bot lane still struggling. Kenny also struggling a little bit. Set's able to do a good chunk of damage, but following up with a Q and a little bit of HP regen. TP up, so Kenny at this point can really back anytime he wants. 75 to 82 in the top lane. No plates, at least for Set, just quite yet.
Yeah, so again, a little bit of unfortunate usage there from Caxi. I think ult usage has been a little unfortunate in both games so far. Cody, though, doing quite well in this top lane, which is... Honestly, I was a little skeptical about the Set, because anytime I see a Set, it literally just runs down the game half the time. So happy to see this one doing quite well and curbing my expectations, but... What's not curbing my expectation is Chewy, who is, like, once again, half HP.
And there's honestly, it's not his play. It's not him. It's the team comp, right? Lulu loves to play into, you know, a mobile melee champions like that. You know, Leona maybe being the exception. Lamppost looking for an internet. We are looking for a good Q. Braum throwing down a little bit of hurt as the Q comes on top of Ahop. And unfortunately, we're not able to get the range. We're not able to lock down the Lulu, but we are going to turn the fight around as Gucci forces out the Condemn from Hollow. And that's a dead Scion. I missed that entirely. Set proving my colleague here wrong, taking him down. But you've got to remember, this is still a Set at the end of the day. Or,
yeah.
Sorry.
Oh,
looking for a fight as Maokai goes in, almost picking up the passive for Braum. Hollow falling to pieces as all Gucci picks up a second kill, and we saw what Gucci can do with a gold advantage.
Yeah, Haumea, though, really just
Canella?
really pressuring in this mid lane against the Yone. The CS difference is ridiculous. It's also Roa, gonna be Roa Victor here, so doing a little bit less damage right now, but will scale up quite well. Is Kenny still taking the worst of the trades here? As Cody bullying him out.
And something I wanted to point out here with Canella, specifically on Yone, is though even though Yone is down, almost 40 CS, which is objectively terrible, losing 3 plates, a lot of it going on the other side. If he can hold off and not die an insane amount in mid lane in the team or in the lane phase, he will have more opportunities to pop off once the fight's actually begun because of those ults. And he can start a lot of the fights. And even if he gets destroyed, even if he gets taken down, he's kind of a lot like Sion, to where it's very hard to disrupt him. Sure, if you can get kills on Yone, absolutely do it. But in the conjunction with him and Kenny, who's still on the run here with a Q, I don't think we're going to get out of this. This should be a kill. Hopefully, we're going to give this to Cody. That would be much better on the set, looking for the hunt. But it looks like Dr. Mundo is going to take it ultimately right there at the end as the wards come out and the Drake starts to go down. Yeah,
we'll be second Drake over to PSC. I do actually kind of dislike Cody rotating down, because that is for sure a dead Scion. I mean, ideally you do get set the gold, but just unrealistic. And he could have pressured this top tower quite a bit to press the gold lead a little bit harder, but we'll be the Mountain Soul this game, as again GCS do need to kind of solve the problem that is happening bot lane, because it is still going unsolved, much like last game where Jinx just was completely unanswered. And their comp really does not have many great options for Zeri in terms of lockdown. And, consistently when we were in Zeri metas, we were seeing things like Vi or Nautilus into Zeri to lock her down, to prevent her from being able to glide in the fights, utilizing the E or the move speed she gets from her ultimate. That's not really available here. A lot of conditional CC from GCS that, much like last game, might see a all Gucci masterclass.
Well, and the best tool that GCS 2008 Nissan Altima has at locking down that Jinx is going to be set, or not Jinx, sorry, wrong game. That locking down that Zeri is going to be set, unless we get that situational CC off, which I think is going to be easier said than done. But if Cody can get in there and absolutely rock them, or even better, if Set can come around on the other side and act as sort of like a hammer and anvil and grab Jinx and throw them in, grab Zeri and throw them into the whole team, that could be, her death, but that's still going to be hard to deal with, because we got to remember, Lulu is here, and if Set does bring Zeri into the team, that's a massive ult for Lulu to pop on Gucci.
Yes, Lamppost, they are going to find mid tower here pretty easily. So they do find themselves first turret, which is, again, something GCS has really been doing well in, is really playing around these towers to give themselves the gold advantage, which currently is very minor, but is something nonetheless here. About 1,500 gold. Cody is sitting on a ward. Well, thumbs up finally realizes on a ward. So, but overall, I think GCS are in a pretty decent spot to recover. They just, again, they need to find an answer for Zeri.
Absolutely, and they do have something to... Ooh, we're starting to fight there in top lane as Nature's Grass comes in, so does the Q. Kenny taking a little bit of damage, but Set should take it down, but Set actually turns it around, getting the feats of warfare for GCS 2008 Nissan Altima is going to get taken down as Kenny does a little bit of a trade, taking him out from the grave, but Shelly is up and Lamppost is chopping her down.
Will be a teleport from Haumea here to pick up the bot wave, and Caxi will probably run into Lamppost. Lamppost does have the Mundo ultimate available here, so should be under no threat, but could be a steal from Caxi. Oh my god, he does.
Steal comes in. Nice leash from Dr. Mundo helping out Caxi. Caxi might get it taken down. Twisted Advance going down, as so is the Q, but this should be a dead tree. Yes, indeedy. It looks like Vayne... Oh, no, she didn't get it. Dr. Mundo got the kill. Oh, that's devastating.
The cleaver will lock down the kill, but so yeah, they don't find the Herald. Eye actually is also picked up by Caxi, and somehow it is really shocking, but Maokai easily able to out-secure the Shelly there. from the Mundo, considering Mundo has a fantastic smite if you know how to do it correctly. Even better than Maokai. Both champs kind of hard to outsteal, but Mundo does get the better of Maokai in majority of situations, but just not this one. So a little pain here for GCS. But right now the highlight here is Cody. Cody is winning the side lane very hard, but imagine how much harder he'd be winning it if they got at least 2 grubs. Unfortunately, dropping that to PSC as well, a bit unfortunate. Haumea, though, is doing insane work, up 50 CS in the bot lane, or in this mid lane matchup that has now moved to the bot lane. Is doing pretty crazy things, I will say.
Well, and I think for his team, he's done the best at capitalizing on advantages. He knows he wins that fight with Yone, and he knows he's going to try to get those side lanes, and so he's the best pusher right now on his team, taking down the mid, taking down all of the turrets. All Gucci going to run into a little bit of trouble as Lamppost walks their way up, but that is one of the advantages they have. They have the Victor, who's doing very well into lane, but it will matter, for the sake of the game itself and how it goes, if they're able to lean on that sooner rather than later. Canella able to take care of a little bit of their damage, the team fight going in their favor. Sorry, the 1v1 fight going in their favor, as we're going to get a Drake up here in a couple of minutes. Positioning seems to be a little bit better on red side on GCS 2008 Nissan Altima, and Maokai's not there just quite yet. And I mentioned how important it is for Maokai to get to these objectives before they start, because those saplings are so powerful.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that Cody does look to try and play this Drake. As both top laners are backing, Kenny does not have teleport, Cody does. So hopefully Cody will look to join here, as, again, they do kind of need to play around the strengths that they have right now, because it's not the Vayne. But Cody is rotating top, and Kenny is walking down here, so this will be a 5v4 if they choose to contest it.
Kenny making their way down, but it looks like Set's going to pop the TP. This is a little bit of a bad spot as we're trying to bait out the Victor. Victor going down to about a 1/3 of his HP, going to get taken down. It looks like Maokai going in. The Q is good. Set going to pull him down on the other side. Maokai still alive, using that passive to keep himself alive. Braum activating the shield.
Oh, nice face seal.
All Gucci going in, a lot of back and forward. This Drake is still up. Gucci able to grab kill. Yone finally online, going to get taken down by the Victor, but all Gucci still here. This is a 3v2. You cannot forget the Lulu. You cannot forget the Scion as we're looking for the fight. Cody looking to try to turn things around. So is the Set. We're going to take out the Lulu right there with a Q. A lot of back and forward. Gucci taking so much damage. GCS 2008 Nissan Altima turning that fight around thanks to the power of Set, thanks to the power of this Victor, picking up yet another kill potentially. Yeah, it's a kill.
Yeah. We'll go over to the Victor as well. And Haumea and Cody, the 2 strongest members coming in for GCS, finally break PCS's team fighting. First time this series, realistically, to break the kind of team fight. And they start up the Drake. However, it will be Caxi here first.
Well, and to hype on the advantages that
he goes in.
Oh, no.
Oh, nice pass away.
He
okay,
doesn't steal it. He gets out. Okay.
He's good.
So we're still able to get out, but the advantages in that case, well, of course, we're going to be the Set, and we're going to be, the Victor, and they played into that very well. Even though most of the team got taken down, they did lose the Drake, but the other side lost their entire team. PSC was not playing into their advantage, which was, of course, the saplings on Maokai and positioning. They weren't leveraging that deal, so that's why the tempo shipped in the favor of red side for that fight for a lot of different reasons. Aussie.
Yeah, so the thing is all Gucci does a lot of work, but again, at the bottom side of the fight, it's Haumea and Cody. 1v2 or 2v2ing basically, and then transferring that 2v2 into a 3v2 where all Gucci falls really low thanks to Haumea's damage coming through on the Victor, landing both the E and the empowered, the detonation of the E, and then the Q damage as well puts Gucci in such a weird spot, but will be Herald spawned in top lane and Atacon being positioned around.
Autocon is indeed in the top lane with Shelly as the forces for PSC are making their way over here. It looks like we're going to start the fight there for Autocon. I don't imagine we're actually going to go for it, but, GCS 2008 Nissan Altima has proved me wrong on the Autocon, and this is a good opportunity. No response from all Gucci going for the tower. Instead, I feel like this is a little bit of a mistake. Going for this fight might be much better, especially because all that armor shred's going to be so great on Zeri, and we're just going to ignore it. We're just going to let it happen. Okay.
Yeah, they just want
That's
mid
an
tower
option.
more. They are getting a lot of gold here. Should be able to turn bot T2 as well. Maybe even mid tier 2. Backs are being channeled really late. Jameas gets canceled, and they're going to find so much gold off of this play. No one on the side of GCS is defending any of their towers. This tower is gone. It is gone for sure.
There it is, the ultimate on top of all Gucci. The Q coming in. Lulu able to provide a little bit of damage as the redemption comes down. Lulu taking a Q directly to the face to try to keep all Gucci getting that movement speed. And of course, that damage, making the good guy plays. Always love to see a good Lulu. And looks like we have one here. And not only did we get, 4 turrets, we're going to get a 5th one in the top lane. So I do like this. I think at some point on the comms, PSC went, okay, we're losing these team fights. What do we need to do? Okay, why don't we just take their towers? Sure, maybe we don't get Autocon, but we get an insane amount of gold. And look at it, now they have quite the lead. That's a 40k now to about 37k. So I guess if you factor in Autocon, they're only about 1k ahead, but that's not too bad.
Yeah, they got. Another major thing that's a kind of hidden stat to towers is the amount of map control you can gain because the towers are gone. Mid lane in particular here, both the mid tier 1 and tier 2 are gone at 22 minutes, which when you don't really have great wave clear coming from your 80 carry, so like Zeri against Vayne, Zeri will out wave clear the Vayne, so you could shove up the wave quite comfortably against the Vayne. Now, if Victor does start going to clear mid waves, will be a different story, but Zeri should have an easier time out clearing as actually top lane.
Set starting a fight there with Canella. Canella happy to re-engage. What are we doing? We are going to miss it, but just barely do a little bit of damage. This could still go either way. Is Set being the master of, is my HP really low? No, it's not, because you're dead. Taking down Yone, taking down Canella.
Yeah, another hidden thing about Set is the amount of HP regen he gets when he's low actually just makes him so much more tankier. That it's kind of hard to factor in, but we'll be Soul Point Drake spawning in here for PSC. However, I'm not quite sure they want to fight this. They do have 2 to themselves, so have given themselves quite a bit of barrier, but is it really worth throwing the game off of, especially just due in fact like how strong Cody is? Right now, Victor sitting on 2 items himself actually should have quite a bit of gold now. To himself to maybe buy a component or something, but won't be doing so just yet.
Ooh, this is not a good position for blue side. The position is so much better on GCS 2008 Nissan Altima. They're grouped in quite the nice spot. The vision is definitely in their favor, and Maokai's having a hard time getting to it. The objective just spawned. If I'm playing Maokai anything, I want to get to these objectives 30-40 seconds beforehand so I can set things up, and the fact that we're not doing it is really starting to bite us in the butt. I feel like if you're going to play it like this, maybe you should have just played Wukong. Wukong's great at stealing, better at stealing than the other side, and you haven't really utilized your ultimate or your saplings in the way you need to. Either way, we're looking for a little bit of fight, looking for a steal as the Drake's about half HP. Set going
the
for
damage onto Zeri.
Going down to about half HP. Zeri's still alive, but Set trying to take him down. There's going to be the power of Lulu with the knock up as the damage comes over the other side of the wall. Vayne able to get a kill there on Yone. Fight's not over, still ongoing. Sion here to take up a lot of damage. Dr. Mundo acting as an absolute unmovable shield. Maokai having a hard time getting back in as it looks like PSC is starting to fall apart. That's going to be a dead Sion, turning this into a 3v4. Dead Sion trying to buy a little time as Lamppost goes on the other side. Looks like we're going to go for the objective instead. As Maokai grabs another steal. Cody goes back in, twisted advance onto the Set, but it's not going to be enough as only 2 are walking away from this wreckage, maybe less, as the tree goes down and the hunt for Lulu has begun.
PSC finally had their teamfight prowess broken into by GCS. A very disconnected fight. Canella not able to pick up the kill onto Machin, but most importantly, Cody showing up when it matters. And GCS will find themselves the Baron off of the back of a very, very dominant 4 for nothing. They do lose the Drake though, so it does put PSC onto Soul Point. But in reality, they have control of the game now and will only make that worse with this Baron.
Absolutely, and losing that fight really bites them in the butt in a lot of different ways. Sure, they got the Drake once again, getting them close to that Soul Point, which is going to be so important. But the biggest thing though too is we don't have a lot of insane answers for Cody, because even if Kenny matches Cody, he's going to love that, right? Like, if you had put Kenny directly in front of the Set would have just taken, the Scion and dropped it on top of Zeri, absolutely nuking him, which is exactly what he wants to do. And we've got so much beef on the other end. Set is allowed to do that. You don't need to peel for Vayne. You've got Braum. Braum's such a great peel, and that is an advantage for their end. Braum's a great peel. Lamppost just sort of sat there taking up so much damage, playing Dr. Mundo to his advantage. And the biggest thing, though, too, is Red Side GCS 2008 Nissan Altima has done a lot of work when it comes to playing into their advantages, and we're seeing that in game number 2, sitting at 6-13, 46k to 48k in the favor of Red Side. PSC needs to step things up.
Yeah, and I again, Cody just really playing in the clutch there as Lamppost is gonna say hello, try to poke someone out, won't find anything, but overall, again, Cody just the highlight here for GCS and in terms of where they're at in this match, because being able to ult the Scion, a very, very major positional mistake coming out of Kenny, but finds the ult onto the Zeri, which creates so much pressure on their backline. It forces Lulu to ult instantly, and also forces out the redemption on top of that. And they really don't have that many tools to kind of really play around, because they had just dumped so much to keep the Zeri alive, that the consistency coming out of something like this Victor as well, the longer the teamfight going on, being able to poke them lower and lower is really starting to pay off for GCS.
Well, and we do have a little bit of a trump card that we haven't seen really pop off. We do have Canella on Yone, and if Yone is able to get that perfect opportunity that I was talking about, he can turn a lot of these team fights around, and that's something that GCS 2008 Nissan Altima has to watch out for going forward. The Q is good in bot lane, but I doubt too much is going to happen. Victor pressuring a Scion is not something I had on my bingo card. As Lamppost comes around the other side, this should be a dead Scion. Activating the ultimate, the Unstoppable does prove to be a little bit more powerful on the other end as we're sieging every single lane.
Yeah, really well played macro-wise again. GCS, this will be their last wave of Baron, so we'll knock down all tier 2s. Lamppost is under half HP.
Twisted Advance going in on Chewy. Chewy having forced to sort of blow an ultimate, so that's a pretty decent trade if they're able to keep these T3 alive, and the response is going to be going for Set as Kenny is trying to lock down this Victor. The Q is good, but the engagement starting up in top lane, trying to lock him down. There it is, all the damage. Set can turn this around, activating an ultimate. The redemption coming down on the other end. Gucci on the hunt. Gucci looking for a kill. That shutdown on Zeri will do so much for the team, but the Q is really powerful. Set a whole bunch, almost turning this around, but almost doesn't count in horseshoes and hand grenades, and this is neither one of those. This is League of Legends as Gucci picks up a 4th kill.
Think about just how much they had to use on the Set, who then almost 1v4'd them off of the back of it as well. They're going to lose their mid tier 2. They lost their mid inhibitor, and Kenny is getting pretty low here. Is saved by the Lulu, as Howman not going to be able to walk up comfortably here. Will be the back coming through from Lamppost. You got 20 seconds. 2 souls spawning in for PSC. So this drop in tempo actually might end up resulting in them having a very, very, very bad time. As look at this back from Chewy. It's going to get canceled, I think.
Well, and the big thing here with Caxi is, like, I hate to see it. I'm such a big fan of Maokai, but he has not been getting to these objectives beforehand. As soon as he spawn, run immediately to the Drake. Start putting those saplings down. Get 3 or 4 before the fight starts. It will make a difference. It sounds like such a minor thing, but you need to get in there. Granted, if he steals it, ultimately it doesn't matter. Twisted Advance going on to the Braum. Braum take a little bit of damage. That shield is down. That's going to be a powerful tool as Set's coming in, looking for the damage. Set's the one you got to watch out for. for as he looks to go around the other end.
He's
as
marked.
Maokai goes down about half HP. Here it is. Cody is in position, but they do know he's here as he pulls him in. There's the ultimate.
Look at the
It's good,
Zeri.
followed by Nature's Grasp, able to do a good chunk of damage. The damage is
Oh!
good. Lulu getting a 4-man knock up, a lot of damage back and forth. Twist advance once again. Maokai going in and out. But you
Look at
got to
Zeri.
about this Vayne. Vayne able to do
Oh,
so much.
that's too
But now they're
far.
just barely able to keep themselves alive. Victor nuking the competition as Kenny falls down with the rest of the team. Double kill for this Victor. Triple kill for this Victor. Looking for his Quadra, and this might already be over, Aussie.
Yeah, it's looking like we're going to a game 3. Cody, I mean, it looked a little rough, but look at how much stuff they have to blow to keep everyone alive from the set by himself. It's just too much. And GCS run over PSC in this game. Haumea having an excellent performance, but Cody, the major highlight here to keep them alive in the series and keep their hopes for the second seed going into playoffs alive.
And you cannot forget the constant macro from Victor. Victor provided so much pressure the entire game, out macroing a Scion, which is nothing to scoff at, especially as a mid laner, out macroing that. It's not like your Ziggs or anyone like that. Just the pressure he was able to provide over and over and over. And for the most part, you know, PSC just wasn't able to come online. They weren't able to play in their advantages, and the games looked very, very dominant for, you know, in a lot of different stages for GCS 2008 Nissan Altima.
Yeah, the big thing though for GCS, it is look at the Vayne damage, right? If your mid laner and your top laner are not popping off, doing 76k, 77k combined this match together, are you gonna win this match? They need to stop giving their bot lanes losing lanes. They need to get that priority back, get that like gumption back, because as it stands, All Gucci right now is looking to be the star for you know PSC, and it's really pivotal to shut him down. And thankfully, Cody was a massive impact with that. Thanks off to the really game-breaking play team fight around that Drake, where Kenny missed positions to allow the set to get onto the Zeri to just completely chunk Zeri out of the fight completely. That is really what got GCS in the game, but All Gucci has been playing very well so far this entire set for PSC. That GCS still, they need to give themselves a chance in the lane where your bot lane can have an impact in the match.
Absolutely, and that ties up our score 1-1. GCS 2008 Nissan Altima taking the last one, but it's still match point for either one as we move into game number 2. We're going to go into an obligatory break, so make sure to stay tuned. We should be back in about 2 to 3 minutes, maybe more. I don't know, maybe the timer makes me a liar. We'll find out. We'll see you in a couple minutes. Alrighty, everyone, here is where the rubber truly meets the road. We're moving into match point game number 3 between PSC and, of course, GCS 2008 Nissan Altima. I don't know if that joke's gotten old, but I'm going to keep saying it either way. Aussie, what are your thoughts moving into game number 3?
Oh, PSC, their team fight prowess got broken off of the back of Set breaking their backs through some accessibility with the Scion and in one fight and maybe a Yone in another fight. In fact, the very last team fight of the game was actually off of Set ulting the Yone into the team. But regardless, GCS do bounce back resoundingly here off of some phenomenal gameplay. And honestly, some of the best 2v2 work I've ever seen between a top laner and mid laner ever at this elo. Haumea and Cody just playing every fight together so well the entire match. Really impressive stuff, but the biggest pain point and biggest, low light for GCS has been the bot lane struggles, and that's where PSC has kind of, been doing really well. Last game didn't really have a chance to allow the Zeri to do Zeri things as we're familiar of seeing of her in the past, but PSC, if they can keep playing, especially Gucci, if Gucci can keep playing like he has been, I'm sure they might not have any problem whatsoever going into this next game. If GCS don't manage to fix up some of their mistakes, we talked about it on our break, Smolder's still available, the Sivir's still available, things that that can allow you to lose the lane more gracefully than something like a Vayne or a Kai'Sa, where you can kind of just farm up, scale up, while you're losing the lane, kind of just chill. That has been available for GCS, but they haven't bitten onto it just yet.
Well, and something I think that you touched on, which is a really good point, is specifically talking about all Gucci. I've said time and time again, to the point where people are probably sick of hearing it, that when League of Legends, you've got to play into your advantages. And that's not just, tempo. It's not just the champions. It's also your players. All Gucci is very comfortable with getting these kills, very comfortable with carrying these games, but they need a bridge to gap some of the mistakes that happen and just sort of how the team fights go overall. And, I think one of the biggest things they didn't have was that specific thing. And I think a lot of that boils down to the jungle, because even though Maokai, was doing really good stealing this objective and that objective, they weren't able to do an insane amount to keep people off of all Gucci and to distract the other side for some reason. I've got to imagine that if you had a Wukong with Cyclone or something like that, or a Zen going in, there's a lot of different options they could have played that would have occupied the rest of the team, allowing all Gucci to do what they did in game number 1 and just absolutely destroy the other team because they're just sort of left alone. And, the big problem is they didn't have an insane amount of answers to, Set. Cody just kind of walked in there and destroyed a whole bunch of teams. And, going back into the other side, though, too, if we know with, with GCS 2008 Nissan Altima that their bot lane is going to lose, because sometimes it just happens. Sometimes you fight someone who's just better in the lane than you, or maybe better in the team fights than you. Play off of that, right? We have people like Smolder. We have people like Senna. Even though Senna, I think, has fallen off of the meta relatively hard, right? There's other scaling champions you can pick up and you can play into that and maybe play off of your top lane instead. Go where your strongest is strongest and avoid their strongest and go for their weakest. There's a lot that you can play into. Here are the picks from last game. And of course, the bans from last game. Keep in mind, with this being a best of 3 Fearless and this being the third game of that best of 3, 25 champions are going to be out of the pool for these upcoming players. So it's really going to test their mettle.
Well, GCS, right? Something to point out about their last draft is Set was the R5, and if you're going to pick up Red Side a second game in a row after just losing on Red Side, getting value out of your R5 like that has to feel great. And probably exactly why PSC decided to swap sides here to take over Red Side, because the Set did just get that much value, and kind of proving my disdain for the champion, who consistently, I feel like, doesn't really get to do too much, but really did more than enough in that game to prove me wrong. Is should get loaded up into the draft here shortly, so stick with us here. But if PSC, again, kind of go back to we're playing around Gucci, especially because they do have that sub in mid lane. Canella is stepping in here for the PSC squad because, Fire Mana is not here, who Resilient coming into this match, right, was really hyping up like this mid lane, matchup between Haumea and Fire Mana was going to be really impactful, but Canela been kind of quiet in the server so far.
Indeed, first couple of bans are indeed out, and so far no deviations. We've been very worried about the Nico and banning out. Same thing with Aurora, same thing with Silas. So I doubt he's going to change too much into game number 3. Some of these being targeted bans. Although I think we got a Vlad ban in the very first game, if I remember correctly. Oh, there it is again. Okay, so I was going to say, I'm not sure if we're going to continue getting that Vlad ban, but I do understand why you want to avoid it. Vlad is so frustrating in lane to deal with, especially if he gets fed, especially if he gets ahead. And continuing with the Inara ban, I doubt the last one's going to be any different, though.
Yeah, GCS, I think I touched on this in game 1, how me and Gebetto really this entire season have kind of been painting this picture of maybe changing your bans up on different sides, but GCS not doing so, especially banning away the Yunara from yourself on blue side is kind of a... We're just first picking Viego. Okay, I'm sure, just slam that in the bag. Lamppost is just... We're just first picking Viego. There's possibly nothing PSC could do about this, surely, in their draft on red side.
We're going to answer it with Amumu, who I put in a lot of different ways as the king of Emerald. The Emerald level doesn't seem to know how to deal with him. You can make the same argument for Iron, Bronze, Silver, Gold, but I think he specializes in sort of the Emerald era. And we're going to answer that here with the Sivir. This is another way PSC can sort of get someone fed, because PSC, and I'm already forgetting who's on what team, PSC is going to be all Gucci. So this is all Gucci on PSC. So changing things up in the bot lane, having someone that is not this insane carry, until those 4 items, is something you could sort of play off of. But as soon as Sivir gets those 4 items, they are still the strongest hyper carry in the game. The answers are going to be Twitch, who I haven't seen in quite some time. I'm still a big fan of Twitch, although I think he's not in the meta really at all, unfortunately. And we're going to answer that with Rakan. I think that's going to be a decent combination. A lot of these are feeling a lot more like comfort picks, though, Aussie.
GCS in a decider game 3, picking Viego first pick and Twitch B2. They just do not care at all, and honestly, it might pay off for them here. As Twitch, I'm not really confident saying which way Twitch is going to build. I mean, people have preferences between AP Twitch and AD Twitch, but I think competitive AD is probably a little bit better because you do have that kind of consistent damage that you kind of want out of your AD carry, especially when you have the Spray and Pray, which is going to be able to outrange majority of this PSC comp. And pair quite well in the Sivir, that perhaps should be an AD Twitch, but bans coming through will be the Milio plus Talia. Alistar, one of the most consistent supports left available, and also quite good into the Rakan, being able to headbutt the Rakan out of any grand entrance plays. And yeah, honestly, this draft is just getting weirder and weirder for GCS. We're slamming Garen into the K'Sante, which is one of K'Sante's biggest counters solo queue wise, because K'Sante really can't do anything against the Garen. If you put yourself in all out, Garen just one shots you with ult. W really doesn't do much for you, so Garen should have a great time into this.
I think this is a Viego mid.
I think it is. I mean, you're right. It has to be a Viego mid.
I have seen this work before. I hated it, but I have seen it work before, and there is an angle for it. I don't know how it's going to go into this game, but this should be Zach in the jungle. I'm hoping Zach in the jungle, Viego in the mid, Garen in the top lane, and of course the AD duo down in the bot lane to sort of deal with that. Zach into Amumu, I think, is a bit of a good matchup. I'm not sure how Viego is supposed to do into the Sion, but the nice thing here about Sion and K'Sante is they can bridge the gap for all Gucci to, become online. And the other thing, though, too, is as you mentioned with Alistair into Rakan, that's a decent matchup. But if this Twitch gets caught by that Alistair, he's probably dead. I don't see a lot of ways he's going to make it out, even if this Sivir doesn't do an insane amount of damage. We are starting off a little bit cheeky, though, looking for maybe something in the top lane, which makes a lot of sense. We have double bandage, which is still absolutely stupid that Amumu has double bandage. We're looking for it. Cody has to watch out for this.
Cody is awake. I have seen players just kind of fall asleep at their keyboards here. in the early game, expecting nothing to happen. I'm a little worried about the Viego into Swain. Swain does so well into melee champions, especially post 6, because Swain is one of those mages, kind of like the battle mage, you know, shorter ranged, kind of beefy, bruiserish, and Swain should pair quite well into the Viego, but I've been wrong before. I'm certainly down to be wrong again for a Viego mid for sure. I'd be more excited about a Viego mid winning. We'll be E-start here for Canelo, which pretty standard stuff. Already getting a stack here, and kind of showcasing why playing melee into Swain is so terrible, because E is almost guaranteed to land, unless you miss it. Thank you, Canelo. I'm sorry for caster cursing you there, but I suppose it was bound to happen.
You're going to get some of them right even when you get them wrong, and that was indeed going to be a case of it. But what I do think is nice that you can play into is if you've got a Viego, if you don't rotate for these objectives as Viego, you're playing it wrong. The Viego needs to be at these, objectives unless you have a very, very good reason and a doctor's note, and then a second doctor's note and a third note for that doctor's note. To not be there, is going to be so devastating, especially with the fact that we have Twitch, right? Like if I'm looking at Twitch on the other end too, we've got a lot of mobility to make it to these neutral objectives. GCS 2008 Nissan Altima needs to be on them sooner rather than later, with of course the I was about to say Jax, with of course the Zach, because before like pre-6, I think blue side has a lot of advantage to taking these objectives. Even when you get Curse of the Sad Mummy, you have a lot of tools to deal with it though.
Yeah, and the benefit of playing Cassante as homemade is okay. He's gonna miss from Canelo, but the advantage of playing Cassante is you do have the teamfight presence that Garen oftentimes lacks. But again, the lane is going to be quite difficult here. It's also Ignite Garen, so will not be It's double Ignite, actually. There's triple Ignite in this match. Ignite in the support, Ignite in mid, and Ignite in top. So they have no teleports available at all, Korak, on the side of GCS. And I'm not sure that's going to pay off.
I see the angle behind it. Garen, he go fast. Lamppost, he go fast. Viego, he go relatively fast. Twitch, definitely he go fast, right? So, you have that mobility sort of built into the champions already. So that might be the angle there for it. And their team is very aggressive. Aggressive. Lamppost going in, popping the flash there of Alistair. Alistair in danger, going to take it down. Just one more shot. There's going to be the first blood. Rakan, unfortunately, picking it up, but I don't really blame him as a Mumu goes in with that bandage. Lamppost in a bit of danger as Hollow duking it out there with Gucci. Worry about the Zach going into it, and it looks like he's gonna take a tower shot. Twitch got the kill, but Sivir, no, didn't get the Zach. I forgot about the passive.
Yeah, passive coming through, and the Twitch poison just ticks away all Gucci at the last possible second there. And Majin, we were talking about the problems in the bot lane, and Lamppost shows up, and it's like, hey, screw you, color caster. I'm getting my bot lane ahead. First time this series. And man, hopefully honestly, it pays off.
Honestly, I was thinking that they were listening to us because all Gucci's, like I said, she needs those 4 items to come online. Not that Sivir can't do work, but she's kind of like Kayle, where it takes a while for her to become a champion. And Zach has such a phenomenal gank, as we saw right there. It was such a good example. Hexatech flash over there. It looks like Alistair coming in, trying to lock down this Viego. I don't think he's going to be able to get out whatsoever. Not really insanely worth the cast. We're trying very hard to give it to Swain. Indeed, we do pass it over. That's going to make Viego have a harder time in the mid lane. But going back to GCS 2008 Nissan Altima, they have all of this movement speed, and if they continue to capitalize on it between the ganks and between going after this and that, I think they can turn things around. But the other side is more consistent for a lot of different reasons. Rakan should have plenty of time to get out of there. So it really just depends on that. And one of the biggest things is making sure all Gucci does not get fed.
And so far is paying off, but it is that Sivir with Cole, so gonna be able to farm up waves quite well. W is gonna miss from Kenny there on the top side, so Cody is gonna be okay. But overall, I will say that the Genkin bot really, really impactful here. But unfortunately, Haumea getting caught in the mid lane is a bit unfortunate. Does take 6 here, but both mid laners now level 6 will be Borg.
Chewy going in. It looks like Alistair's trying to lock down this Twitch. I can't imagine he's going to be able to get his hands on it. All Gucci happy to just sort of sit here and farm, but Twitch is not, you know, a stranger to farm whatsoever. So this could still go either way for them. He does have a little bit of gold, a little bit of lead there on Sivir. And I think at this point, you might as well try and lean into it. Viego, not sure what you're gonna do. Yeah, I didn't expect too much. Double bandage is still very powerful to go into, and if you got caught by any of those bandages, Swain was gonna be right there, lamppost, looking for a gank, but he might only find death instead. The bandage is good, going in, trying to lock him down, but this is a Zac, so he has plenty of time to get out. Drake is up, and it looks like we're not gonna rotate for the objective. Speed advantage is in GCS Nissan 2008 Nissan Altima, so they can watch out for it. We do get an engage upon. That's gonna be a powerful tool outside of the tool shed for this Alistair, and maybe we're not going for the objective?
No, so they stave off any play here from PSC, so all of this like posturing in the river ends up for nothing. Coding out back in lane, Kenny falling quite low, or not falling quite low, falling out to about a half HP here after this trade, but so far, the game has slowed down significantly after the initial play.
We are looking for another play here on Lamppost. Zac going in. Rakan gonna set it up, and there it is. Gonna be double knock-up onto the Alistair. Should follow it up with a bit more of damage as Zac pulls him back in as soon as he thought he got out. There's gonna be the first ignite. This should be a dead cow. Yes, indeedy, as Twitch picks up the feats of warfare at the other end, as all Gucci takes a bit of damage on the way out. Zac, Lamppost back in, looking for the pullback, is gonna find it. Hollow looking for the damage. There's gonna be the knock-up, and that is gonna be a dead Sivir. We're putting the hurt on the bot lane. We're putting the hurt on all Gucci.
Yeah, and all Gucci, who's had a phenomenal series so far, is being shut out of this match by Lamppost. Lamppost has been playing so well. Good zoning from Canella there to get some poke damage into Haumea, but again, this bot lane winning here for GCS is gonna prove very, very, very vital, I think, coming into the future, but we'll be all 3 grubs going the way towards PSC as, again, the game will slow back down.
And that is going to be a powerful tool for Sivir to use later on top of their wave clear. The Cal, once again, maybe in a little bit of trouble. Going to do a bit of knock-up, but this should be a lot of damage and a lot of knock-up on the other side as Luxina goes in, able to absolutely take down a good chunk of damage. And Mumu actually picking up a double kill as Viego has no choice but to run away from that fight. And it looks like Cassante died in the top lane when we were not paying attention. Garen getting a kill, indeed struggling into this top laner.
Cody, Flash Ignite, and the ultimate used against Kenny. Kenny will have teleport back, but it will be the first Drake going over to PSC, and GCS overstep and overplay in the mid lane and get drastically punished for it here. Twitch now losing that lead, giving Sivir some time to scale up for herself. He's going to get slowed up here.
Unfortunately, the W is not good as Alistair goes in, able to get at least 1 knock-up, but this is a lot of damage on Hollow on Twitch, sitting at 2 in 1. This Twitch is going to be feeling happy right now, and looks like the CS is pretty even, despite the fact that Sivir has 2 deaths, but that does mean Twitch is ahead, because he should have about 600 gold plus the CS there, and hopefully try to go for some of these plates. You may as well try to get them while you can, continue to increase that lead as you go further and further forward. Speaking of, Kenny getting his first plate in the top lane, so at least a tiny bit of revenge on the Garen.
So the good thing here for GCS is, despite the disaster, Twitch is still up quite a bit. But a little bit of a problem for GCS's draft is they are going to be all AD into a Cassante Amumu Alistar, which is not necessarily the most ideal in the entire world. But a lot of their like real hardcore damage is from the Sivir, and right now Sivir is behind. Swain should be able to carry a little bit of it, but might struggle a bit into the Twitch due to the range difference when Spray and Pray is active. But again, game very, very, very even. Much more even than I think we've seen any of the games so far this set. So, bit of a welcome one. Cody.
Ooh. Cody doing it again, locking down the Garen, just needs one more shot. He is going to get it as Kenny is able to get his hands on a kill. Cody going down on the Garen. Cassante feeling a little bit better, but that's not too surprising. My favorite name for Cassante is that creature for a reason. Looking for a gank. The W, unfortunately, is not going to good as all Gucci starts spending a little time on the hunt. Did get activated. We are fighting the Sivir underneath tower. This could be a little bit danger, but this is a lot of damage on the other side as Hollow going to go down, and now Swain coming in. Rakan going on the other end, but he only bought himself a couple of precious seconds. Got to get taken down, and Lamppost, the very, very tiny Lamppost, barely escapes from that carnage.
And they're diving a full health flash, like double summoner spell availability here for the Sivir with ult. And Alistar, who's full HP with ult as well. When it's so easy for them to just cancel out the dive, and Machin tanking the tower there instead of Lamppost. And GCS, for the second time this match, overplay around the Twitch and get punished for it. And the heavy presence and focus on getting the Twitch ahead is slowly melting away.
Well, and looking at this too, one of the big things is, the fact that Sivir was down 0-2 and was down CS and getting a kill. I'm not sure if she got Twitch or who she got in that's a sort of deal back and forward. But, whoever she got the kill on should have been at least a small little shutdown, which could have been a much desired infusion of resources onto Sivir. Cody, once again, in a little bit of trouble. Cassante is absolutely devastating. Kenny looking in top form on this absolute creature, now looking for another plate. He's already taken 3. Now he's off for his 4th.
Yeah, Kenny somehow, after getting first blooded in the lane, is just bullying Cody. He has no tower. Usually this goes the opposite way in the matchup, but he might actually find first tower here with the grubs.
Absolutely. And we were talking about bridging the gap when it comes to Sivir getting online. Shutdowns are a good example of that, as Viego got to run into Swain in the mid lane, but it looks like we're going to get Caxi here to try to lock them down. The bandage is not good. The flash is good on the other end as Viego escapes with his life. Twitch picking up a stun there in the bot lane, but back to Cassante, back to Kenny. Kenny taking these towers. Kenny able to get some sort of lead, will bridge the gap for the time it'll take for Sivir to come online, because Sivir is still very much a ticking time bomb to deal with.
Yeah, will be that ticking time bomb, as you state. And again, this all AD comp here for GCS is going to be a bit of a struggle here in the mid game, because armor stacking, look, there's already 3 plated steel caps here for PSC. It's actually Ionians for Alistar for some reason, but regardless.
Cody and Cassante still continuing to duke it out. This tower is not safe because it's just 1 or 2 shots to take it down. However, Cassante taking off a good chunk of damage. This is a chance for Cody to turn around. Lamppost is here. Should be able to slow down the Cassante. It looks like the engagement is good, but Kenny just uses it to get out, still on the hunt. Zach popping his ultimate, but there is the flash from Kenny. He still survives. He is still up and does have TP ready to go, but that's if Lamppost allows him to back.
Well, the only champ who probably could have gotten out there was Cassante. He used the W so well. Unstoppables the knockup from the initial Elastic Slingshot, then uses Lamppost as a way to press the all out and then also get another W because it resets your W cooldown. So being able to double Pathmaker there gives him enough space, and then utilizing the flash to get away from the Q just in time before the pullback comes through. Really well played from Kenny. And once again, it is GCS here kind of on the back foot now, as slowly the gold is creeping up.
coming in, but so is the Amumu. We're looking for it. The flash is good as he knocked back into the other side. Hollow is in danger as the Mummy goes in. Rakan trying to buy some time, but Curse of the Sad One able to do a whole bunch. Redemption not coming down in time, able to keep Chewie alive, but the target, the Twitch, went down, and now we're getting our hands on the tower.
Yeah, should be a tower here, and Majin had Ghost Up available as well, but doesn't use it and goes down after utilizing the flash, and it is really starting to fall apart here for GCS. Kenny now in a 1v2.
There is the cavalry in the form of Swain as all Gucci is using their advantage and their time to try to get some more damage on that tower. And of course, some much needed gold. Once again, Lamphus goes in, able to grab a steal. Thank you for the leash indeed. I'm not sure you want to stay even as Kasante because there are 3. We're looking for a gank over here on the bottom, but it doesn't matter because Mumu is here ready. Mumu taking down the Twitch Cipher, able to pick up another kill, and now a tower. They just continue to offset their advantage. Gucci getting closer and closer to coming online.
And Majin is in ult, but is somehow melee range of the Alistar when you have so much range. When your ult is available, Majin really misplaying his lead. 2 and 4 now on the Twitch after having such a great opening. The matchup here in top lane starting to fall apart as well. The Viego is not paying off, and GCS, all of these pieces together really just started to collapse.
And absolutely, and it goes back to the thing I've been saying this whole time. You got to play into your advantages, and if you're going to do weird, you got to lean very heavily in the weird, which GCS 2008 Nissan Altima has not been doing. We've had the mobility, but we've lost objective after objective after objective. Sure, getting Twitch fed is nice as Lamppost gets caught inside his own jungle. He thought he owned this, but that is not the case. Flashing over the wall, Lamppost barely able to survive that, and no longer having a flash is going to be pretty powerful as these objectives are making their way onto the map, but he does have plenty of engage, but once he gets in there, he might have a hard time getting out. About 1 minute and 40 seconds on the clock, Aussie, in order to get this next upcoming Drake, and I think it will really set the tempo for the rest of the game. If PSC is able to get this, they're going to be able to leverage that tempo, leverage that soul point in a lot of different ways, but they may not even need it. They've been looking in quite the top form, and Sivir, like I said, is continuing to tick down. Lamppost trying to go in, trying to help out, as we do get to get the passive there for Zach, as Zach's just barely able to stay alive. There's going to be the ultimate and the passive for 2 ends, trying to keep themselves up and ready. Shelly going to get deployed, but unfortunately it is going to be no good. Another minute on the clock, still waiting for this objective to come online.
Yeah, they are able to find themselves a tower, which is an objective bounty, but again, your Garen lane still shoved up under his tier 2 here. But, you know, you do escape some disaster there in the bot lane. Canella not strong enough to really start 1v2ing just yet, and game is slipping away here for GCS, though. Majin, you know, having a great start here off of the back of a great play from Lamppost, but unfortunately, it's really slowed down since then for their bot lane, getting picked out time and time and time again here. Lamppost, you don't have passive, but it's going to be able to walk this one away.
It did take a little bit of damage, but you got to remember that, of course, Zach drops those little droplets, and the healing can be deceptively powerful if he's able to get his hands on it. So not a too big thing. However, this is nice. Trying to lock down the Swain, going down to less than half HP, dodging the bandage, but can you keep up as all Gucci wants this kill? The second bandage is good. The flash coming in as Viego diverts 3 members. If they get this kill, this will be super nice, but can we turn this into objective? It looks like it's not going to happen, as that is going to be a dead Viego. The fight's still ongoing as Alistair goes in, getting a 2-man knock-up, trying to lock people down. TP on the other side, locking down the jungle. We're going all in for this one. This is going to be a 5
don't have a tower.
3. Twitch trying to get out of here, but I don't think it's going to happen because Kenny closing the door. There's 4 on the other side. Hollow might be the only one to escape, but Alistair trying to keep things up, dropping the Ignite, is on the hunt, trying to lock him down. We're going to get it, and that is going to be a full team wipe. What a fight, Aussie!
And PSC are just winning off of basically pure draft gap here. I mean, so some mistakes coming through from GCS kind of really soiled their plans, but how do GCS win the game? Right? Like, you have no way of dealing with this front line of PSC. You're playing triple AD here on the side of GCS. And look at the armor stacking. It's just going to get worse here, I fear. With the Atacon taken now, Drake in the cards as well will be soul point for the Infernal Soul. And we might be packing our bags up early in this game at the very least, comparatively to the other 2 games that were played already.
I said this third Drake will be a good indicator of how the rest of the game is going to go, and that proved to be true. Grabbing the objective, grabbing the autocon, and most importantly, getting their hands on so many kills. It looks like Sivir has 2 items so far. I don't know if people consider Boots an item or not when it comes into her 4 count, but she's getting scarier and scarier by the moment.
I really just... I'm all for trying things. You know, but I think there's a terminology for games where you want to try things out, and that's called scrims, and not important games where seeding is on the line here. But enough about that. Gucci?
Going in for Gucci. This is going to be a good one. Unfortunately, the W is going to be missed. We do have a lot of damage as the TP comes there on mid lane. Hollow having a hard time getting in there as Rakan falls to pieces, Lamp falls to pieces, and Swain goes for the carry. That's going to be 2 kills for Sivir. Now, picking up their 5th kill, Gucci. Got to be feeling happy with this one, popping on the hunt, and maybe we're looking for more. This tower should go down, but who will go with it is going to be the question. Garen looking for the spin to win, but it looks like the sad mummy is going to do a lot more for his team as they're looking for a kill. The Ignite comes down, and maybe a dead Cody. Okay, super close. Had half a Ladybug's worth of HP on that one.
Able to survive, but again, they can't even find the Sivir there, and it is getting to be very dire here for the side of PSC. Is again, how many are really is 0-2 and 0 on the Viego, yet to join the team in terms of any kind of team fight. Where we see, take a look at the PSC, every single person on their team has some kind of kill participation towards the game. But regardless, PSC really playing well and recovering their bot lane after a pretty well played GCS like early game to like focus around Gucci. But the recovery has just been so impressive for PSC here that it is just going to be them at like taking this game unless GCS finds something very quickly.
And right now, the tempo is very firmly in the control of PSC. They dictate everything. Cassante was inside the jungle of Lamppost, and there was nothing Lamppost could do about it. Not only the fact that it was Cassante, but the entire team was there. Viego running into a little bit of danger inside the jungle, running into the Amumu, who's taking advantage of the free gold.
And they're going to be squeezed out here. More waves picked up for the Sivir. Jungle control going towards the way of PSC. Waiting for the Baron to spawn in 50 seconds. 2 minutes, or I guess about a minute after the Baron spawns, will be Soul for PSC. And as it stands, I don't think GCS are going to be able to fight the Drake. I mean, the Baron's off the table. Like, they're not fighting this Baron without losing the game for it. They might try to desperation play it and pray for, hope for the best. Your Twitch is sitting on 2 items, so it might be the best possible time for you to fight, but again, PSC just so far ahead. Up so much gold now. 7K is the lead.
What are we doing? Is everybody on a ward and everyone knows it? I'm not sure what the plan is here. Sweeper going to get activated. Number advantage quickly shifting in the favor of blue side, but it looks like he's in a trap. Lamppost going in, but he's only going to run directly into a cow, which is not what he wants. Flash coming in. Lamppost on the hunt, but so is the other man as Chewy gets taken down and destroyed. Swain moving forward. This unstoppable force. Kenny doing the exact same thing, absolutely chunking this Twitch. Twitch going to fall to pieces. Swain having way more value than the Viego as 2 have gotten taken down, and this should be a free Baron unless Lamppost is able to pull in a clutch and go for the steal, but I don't even think we're going to try.
Yeah, not worth trying. Gonna try and play for some different angle, but Rylai's enabled here for the Swain. So in the ultimate, very difficult to try and escape from, especially when you are playing something so immobile like that Twitch. And they find out just how immobile the Twitch is, as Twitch goes down pretty quickly there. But Baron now here enabled for PSC for the next 2.5 minutes, as Drake and Soul. This will be their Soul spawning in 10 seconds.
We're sitting at 5-19 at 26 minutes, 40K to 10K, as it looks like PSC is continuing to tighten their grip on this game, looking for our soul point. A fight should pop off, I think, at this point, but GCS 2008 Nissan Altima really need to make something happen. They can't just let this Drake go.
And he is
oh no,
Lampers
tried to go in, but the Alistair interrupted him, and now the Soul has fallen to the other side, and the entire team is in danger. Alistair and Kenny here to rock the socks off of everybody on the other end, as member after member falls to pieces, and Garen isn't even here to help, as a double kill is picked up by a Mumu, and this might already be the end. Maybe not. We got 30 seconds, so I think we can stop it.
Should be able to stop this one, as PSC, though, are running over the map and running over the series here in Game 3 off of incredible gameplay just coming out of this top side of PSC. Kenny with multiple TP flanks to set up their team and team fights, to cut off the members of GCS from escaping. You know, also Caxi kind of making up for a pretty sleeper performance, but they're looking to enter your Korak.
Has begun, and we've started taking down one tower so far. Lamppost going in, unfortunately not able to get his hands on Kenny, but he is going to get taken down as Swain picks up another kill, and this indeed is going to be the end of game number 3 in this series. PCS looking in top form as they chop down the Nexus, winning the whole enchilada.
Rightfully so, they will stay the second seed. And Twitch gonna do 200 damage maybe, and just dies. And that is the game. PSC take it in dominating fashion in game 3 there. Maybe a bit of draft gap, potentially, aiding that fact. But PSC's bot lane hold on to the pressure put on from Lamppost, and just allow GCS to overplay with their Twitch and punish it time and time again in that match. First game, excellent showcase from all Gucci as well. 13-0-6 or 13-0-9, something like that on the Jinx as well. Just disgusting stuff coming out of their AD carry. Second game was kind of on the back of Gucci to try and carry as well, just not able to get that one done. But at the end of the day, PSC show why they're the second seed and deserve to be second seed here. Maybe even the first seed if they can keep playing team fights as clean as they did in the first game, for sure. As ignore the cards there of the characters, that will be the wrong champions. But regardless, yeah, PSC just run over the game.
Absolutely playing into their strengths, keeping up with their consistency, having quite the great game, and they were able to bridge the gap for Sivir to get in there, for Gucci to get in there. Despite the pressure that GCS 2008 Nissan Altima, more specifically Lamppost, put on the bot lane, we were able to turn it around and look at that damage. It looks like that card's right, about 24k to the 11k on Twitch, and I think that's another good example to show, you know, why Sivir is a lot more meta than Twitch, even though Twitch has a special place in my heart. He's one of my favorite ADCs. He's just not super insanely meta right now. He's kind of fallen by the wayside, and he started off with a lead, right? Normally, you know, in the past, Twitch gets a lead, he just eats the entire game, but that's not the case here. That's not the case in 2025, unfortunately, for Twitch, and ultimately, PSC does come out the victor either way with this best of 3 series, over the winner being Post-Sin Clarity. What a weird name. It has been very, very exciting to cast this one with you, my friend. I've been very, very excited. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I'm glad y'all stuck with us through the whole thing. These are some pretty long games. I think we're going longer than a lot of the orgs tonight, but either way, I've been your host for the Evening Korak. He has been Aussie, and of course, this has been Titan Esports.
like do 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 like do 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 crazy oh 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 crazy oh 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 crazy crazy oh oh crazy oh 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 crazy do 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 crazy do 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 crazy do 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 crazy do 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 crazy crazy do do like do 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 like do 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 crazy oh do do like do 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 like do 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 crazy oh crazy oh oh crazy crazy oh oh crazy oh oh crazy do 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 crazy do 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 crazy do 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 crazy do 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 crazy 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 do like do 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 like do 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 crazy oh do like do 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 do